The invitation arrived on black cardstock with gold lettering that seemed to shimmer in the light. Betsy turned it over in her hands, examining the paper quality. High-grade cotton fiber, probably 120 GSM, expensive but not ostentatious. The kind of thing rich people used when they wanted to appear tasteful. You have been selected for the Ascension game. Prize, $50 million. Location, the Vermilion Estate. 4738 Cliff Shore Drive, midnight, come alone. She'd received it 3 days ago. Spent those 3 days doing research. The estate existed. Purchased 6 years ago by a shell corporation registered in the Cayman Islands. Property taxes paid through an LLC that connected to 17 other LLCs, all ultimately untraceable. The prize amount was specific enough to be believable, but large enough to attract desperate people. Betsy assessed her own desperation level. Moderate to high. Her mother's nursing home cost $8,000 monthly. Her salary as a systems engineer at a mid-tier tech company was $95,000 annually. After taxes, rent, and her mother's care, she was drowning slowly. Not dramatically, no repo men or eviction notices, just the steady erosion of ever-accumulating debt. 50 million would solve that, would solve everything. Risk assessment, high likelihood of scam or danger, probability of legitimate payout, less than 1%. Probability of physical harm, 60% or higher. She went anyway. Her 2015 Honda Civic looked like a cockroach among the luxury vehicles lining the circular drive when she arrived at 11:52 p.m. She parked at the far end, noting positions: a black Bentley Continental, a silver Ferrari 812, a blue Rolls-Royce Phantom, a red Lamborghini Aventador, and a white Bugatti Chiron. She photographed the license plates with her phone, sent them to a cloud backup she'd set up that morning. The estate was Victorian Gothic revival, all pointed arches and dark stone, perched on a cliff where the Pacific Ocean hammered rocks 300 feet below. Dramatic. Designed to intimidate. The architect had wanted visitors to feel small, temporary, crushable. Betsy felt none of those things. She'd stopped feeling much of anything at 15 when she'd realized emotions were just chemical reactions, and chemicals could be ignored. She approached the doors at 11:57 p.m. Optimal timing, late enough to seem eager, early enough to observe other arrivals. The doors swung open before she could knock. A man in a crimson suit stood in the threshold. 6'2", approximately 180 pounds. Theatrical posture, suggesting performance rather than genuine authority. His smile was calculated, practiced in mirrors. Welcome, welcome. I'm Neil, your host for this evening's entertainment. You must be Betsy. Yes. Wonderful, come in, come in. She entered, immediately mapping the space. The foyer was 40 feet wide, 60 feet long, marble floors with black and white checkerboard pattern. 3 visible exits, the main entrance behind her, a hallway to the left, a corridor to the right. A grand staircase ascended to a mezzanine level, ceiling height approximately 30 feet. Sound would echo significantly, making stealth movement nearly impossible. Chandeliers provided primary lighting, 6 of them, each probably weighing 300 pounds. Potential weapons or hazards if supports were compromised. She cataloged 17 cameras in visible positions, noted 3 locations where additional cameras were likely concealed based on optimal coverage angles. 2 people stood near the staircase. Woman, early 30s, 5'6", maybe 130 pounds, bleached blonde hair showing dark roots. Fidgeting constantly, nail-biting, weight-shifting, rapid eye movement. Either genuinely terrified or performing terror. Wearing jeans and a sweater that looked expensive but worn. Someone who'd had money and lost it, or wanted to appear that way. P. Man, late 40s, 5'10", 240 pounds. Significant muscle mass beneath fat suggesting former military or athletics. Ill-fitting suit, deliberately ill-fitting, Betsy assessed. The shoulders were too tight but the waist too loose. The kind of mistake no one makes accidentally when buying formal wear. He was hiding his actual build. His posture alternated between slouched and military straight, catching himself each time. Trained then, and undercover. Betsy filed it away. Wonderful. Now we're just waiting for one more, Neil said. Betsy, meet Henny and Liam. Your fellow contestants. Boston's tone. Contestants for what? Liam demanded. His voice was working-class Boston, dropped consonants and hard vowels, but his diction was too consistent. He never slipped into more educated patterns. Another performance. All will be revealed. But first, let me introduce you to our benefactors. Movement in the shadows. People emerged from concealed positions. Behind curtains, from doorways, descending from the mezzanine. 37 individuals, all in evening wear. Betsy counted and categorized 23 men, 14 women. Age range 40 to 75. Combined net worth probably exceeded $10 billion based on the faces she recognized. That one was Senator Richard Holbrooke. She'd seen him on C-SPAN. That woman was Vivian Chen, CEO of Helix Pharmaceuticals, featured in Forbes 2 months ago. That man was Judge Thomas Warren, appointed to federal bench 3 years ago. She memorized faces systematically, the way she memorized code structures, creating mental folders for each individual. They arranged themselves along the mezzanine in a precise formation, alternating positions to maximize viewing angles. Choreographed. This wasn't their first time. These fine individuals, Neil continued, have paid handsomely for tonight's entertainment, and you 3 desperate souls will provide it. The blonde woman, Henny, turned for the door. Amateur move or calculated to test response protocols? Gunshot, loud, echoing in the stone chamber. Neil held a Glock 17, pointed at the ceiling. Smoke curled from the barrel. Standard 9mm from the sound. Likely 115-grain ammunition. The shot had been deliberate, precise. He'd aimed at a specific point in the ceiling, where the bullet would lodge in mortar rather than ricochet. I'm afraid that's not an option. You all signed binding contracts when you RSVP'd online. You belong to us now. Betsy had clicked accept without reading, but she'd also immediately researched contract law. No contract signed under duress or fraudulent pretenses held legal weight, which meant the contracts were theater. The real enforcement mechanism would be violence or kidnapping, federal crimes, but only if someone survived to report them. Her probability of survival ticked down another 5%. Now then, Neil lowered the weapon, holstered it at his hip. Let's begin with something simple. Round 1, truth or consequence. He snapped his fingers. 3 chairs appeared from the right corridor, wheeled by staff in black clothing. The staff wore masks, simple black cloth, no identifying features. Their movements were synchronized, suggesting rehearsal. The chairs were heavy oak, with leather straps at the wrists, ankles, and chest. The leather showed wear patterns. These chairs had been used before, many times. Betsy looked for stains. Found them, dark brown patches that could be old blood, though the leather had been cleaned repeatedly. Sit. Fuck you, Liam spat. Neil sighed, made a gesture. Someone above moved. Betsy tracked the motion. A figure in black with what looked like a dart gun, pneumatic rather than spring-loaded based on the weapon's profile. The dart hit Liam's neck. He went down immediately, body convulsing. Betsy observed. Full body muscle spasms. Foam at the mouth. Eyes rolling back. Neurotoxin, affecting voluntary and involuntary muscle control. Duration of symptoms, approximately 45 seconds before Liam's convulsions began to subside. Recovery time, 2 to 3 minutes to regain basic motor control. The darts are equipped with a neurotoxin, Neil explained. Non-lethal, but extraordinarily painful. You'll follow instructions, or you'll suffer. Now, sit down. They sat. Betsy took the left chair. The staff secured her wrists first, then ankles, then chest strap. The restraints were tight, but not circulation cutting. They wanted contestants functional, uncomfortable, but not damaged. Not yet. Neil wheeled a cart between the 3 chairs. It was covered with black cloth, again, theatrical rather than necessary. He enjoyed the performance, the reveal. Narcissist, probably. Useful to know. He whipped the cloth away. 3 metal boxes sat on the cart, each connected by thick cables to the chairs. Digital displays on each box currently read 0. Industrial design suggested custom fabrication. These weren't store-bought. Here's how this works. I'll ask each of you a question. Answer truthfully and your display stays at 0. Lie and you accumulate voltage. When we reach the end of this round, whoever has the most voltage receives the full amount. Through their chair. Simple, effective, psychologically devastating for most people. Betsy calculated electrical current through the body, effects dependent on voltage, amperage, duration, and path. 500 volts could be survivable if amperage was controlled. 5,000 would cause serious damage, 2nd and 3rd degree burns, potential cardiac arrest, muscle trauma. The threat was credible. Jesus Christ, Henny whimpered. This is insane. This is entertainment. Neil spread his arms to the audience above. They applauded politely. Golf claps, champagne still in their hands. Some were already pulling out phones to record. Betsy, let's start with you. Neil circled to face her directly. Have you ever caused someone's death? Standard question, designed to shock, to make her defensive. Most people would deny immediately. She ran through her database. The crosswalk accident. Age 23. 10 years ago. Investigation concluded accidental death. No criminal charges filed. But she had been texting. The boy, Marcus Lynn, age 7, had run into the street from between parked cars. She'd been looking at her phone for approximately 2.3 seconds. Braking distance at 35 miles per hour with delayed reaction time. Insufficient to stop. Causation was complex. Had the boy run into the street regardless of her attention? Probably. Would she have seen him sooner if not texting? Possibly. Was she legally culpable? No. Was she causally involved? Yes. Yes. Neil blinked. His script had anticipated denial. Admit it? You already know about the crosswalk accident. The question was whether I'd caused a death. I was texting. A 7-year-old boy ran into the street. I struck and killed him. Causation is complex, but the answer to your question is yes. 0 volts. Neil's smile tightened. The observers leaned forward. This wasn't the response they'd expected. They wanted guilt, tears, denial. She gave them data. Neil recovered quickly. Do you feel guilty about it? No. Buzz. 500 volts appeared on her display. That's a lie, Betsy. Everyone feels guilt. I didn't say I never felt guilt. Past tense. I said I don't feel guilty. Present tense. I processed the event, concluded that my culpability was approximately 40% based on reaction time analysis, accepted that percentage, and integrated it. Your question was imprecise. Neil stared at her. Above, the observers murmured. Someone laughed nervously. You're saying you just stop feeling guilty? Guilt is a recursive emotional loop that serves no productive function after initial assessment. I assessed, accepted my proportional responsibility, made systematic changes to prevent recurrence. I don't text while driving, and move forward. Maintaining guilt would be inefficient. Jesus Christ, Henny whispered. What are you? Betsy didn't answer. She didn't know how to explain that she'd systematically dismantled her own emotional responses over a period of years, rebuilt herself into something that functioned on logic rather than feeling. People found it disturbing. Neil turned to Liam, recovering his composure. Liam, have you ever stolen from family? Yeah. Liam's jaw clenched. Stole my mom's jewelry when I was 22. Sold it for drug money. She died never knowing it was me. Very honest. 0 volts for Liam. Neil turned to Henny. And you, dear? Have you ever fantasized about murdering your husband? Henny's eyes widened. I'm not married. Buzz, 1,000 volts. Liar. Neil's voice cracked sharp. You're married to Robert Chen. Filed the papers under your maiden name, Peterson. Married 4 years ago in a private ceremony in Macau. Very clever. But you do fantasize about it, don't you? About pushing him down the stairs in your penthouse. About watching him drown in your infinity pool. About putting antifreeze in his bourbon. Tears streamed down Henny's face. Real tears, Betsy noted. Or extremely well-performed ones. He beats me, Henny whispered. Every night when he drinks, She stopped. Yes, I fantasized about killing him. Honesty is beautiful, Neil smiled. 0 volts. He returned to Betsy. Second question. Do you think you're a good person? Betsy considered the question structure. Subjective assessment requiring value judgment. She could lie easily, claim goodness, take the voltage strategically. Or she could answer honestly and take voltage for a different reason. The question is meaningless, she said. Good requires ethical framework. By utilitarian standards, probably not. My actions maximize my own utility at the expense of others. By Kantian categorical imperative, possibly. I act according to principles I could accept as universal law. By virtue ethics. No, I lack most qualities considered virtuous. The question cannot be answered without framework specification. Buzz. 1,500 volts. That's not an answer, Betsy. It's the only accurate answer. You asked a malformed question. Do you think you're a good person? Neil repeated, enunciating each word. Simple yes or no. Under which ethical framework? Any framework. Your framework. I don't operate on ethical frameworks. I operate on efficiency calculations. The question is irrelevant to my decision-making process. Buzz. 2,000 volts. She's a fucking robot, someone said from above. Laughter followed. Neil's smile was rigid now. She was breaking his game by refusing to play emotionally. He moved on to Liam, asking about childhood trauma. Liam gave measured answers, taking some voltage strategically, avoiding it when possible. Smart. He understood the game. Henny crumbled under questioning. Questions about her marriage, her family, her secrets. By the end, her display read 4,500 volts. Liam's read 1,500. Betsy's read 3,000. And the winner is... Henny, Neil announced. No, wait, let me recalculate. He made a show of checking displays. Actually, Betsy wins with 3,000 volts. Betsy had known the moment he said recalculate that he was lying. Henny had 4,500. But Neil wanted to punish Betsy for disrupting his performance. Fine, she'd expected that. Wait, Henny started. Oops, my mistake. Yes, Henny, 4,500 volts. You're our winner. Neil threw a switch. Electricity hit Henny like a physical force. Her body convulsed against the restraints, back arching, tendons standing out like cables. The scream was immediate, primal, the sound of a nervous system being overwhelmed. Foam appeared at her mouth. Her eyes rolled back. The smell of burning flesh and ozone filled the air. Betsy watched clinically. Observe the muscle contractions, the duration, 12 seconds, the recovery. When it stopped, Henny slumped. Unconscious, but breathing. Second-degree burns visible on her wrists and ankles where the restraints had conducted current. Possible minor cardiac damage depending on current path. Still alive! Remarkable! Neil checked Henny's pulse. Ladies and gentlemen, she survives round 1. Let's hear it for our contestants. The applause was louder now, enthusiastic. They'd seen blood, pain, suffering. They were energized. Betsy filed away another data point. The observers weren't just watching. They were participating emotionally, investing in the spectacle. That made them vulnerable to manipulation. They were separated into individual holding rooms. Betsy's was small, 10 by 12 feet, concrete walls, single door, no windows, a cot, a toilet, a sink. Holding cell, essentially. She used the 28 minutes before someone arrived to examine every surface. The door was steel, heavy, locked from outside. No hinges accessible from inside. The toilet was industrial, bolted to the floor. The sink was stainless steel with no removable parts. Nothing could be weaponized easily. She did 50 push-ups, 50 squats, stretched thoroughly, maintained muscle temperature and flexibility, efficiency. At minute 29, the door opened. A woman in medical scrubs entered carrying a small case. 5'4", 120 pounds, age approximately 35. She moved with medical confidence. Real training, not performance. I'm going to give you an injection, the woman said. Adrenaline and painkillers. You'll need your strength. Dosage? The woman paused. Most people don't ask. 50 milligrams epinephrine, 20 milligrams morphine, 5 milligrams dexamethasone. Betsy calculated. The epinephrine would increase heart rate and alertness. The morphine would dull pain without complete loss of sensation. The dexamethasone would reduce inflammation. Well calibrated for maintaining function under stress. Thank you. The woman administered the injection efficiently. You're welcome. Why are you helping them? I'm paid very well, and if I refuse, I'm in one of those chairs. The woman packed her supplies. Stay alive, Betsy. What's your name? The woman hesitated at the door. Dr. Sarah Vex. She left. Betsy added the name to her mental database. Dr. Sarah Vex. Coerced participation. Potential asset if properly motivated. The medications took effect quickly. Her heart rate increased from resting 62 BPM to 78 BPM. The burn pain from the minimal voltage she'd received faded to background noise. She felt alert, focused, ready. At minute 42, guards came. 2 men, both approximately 6 feet tall, 200 pounds, moving with military precision. They escorted her to a new location, a gymnasium with concrete floors and harsh fluorescent lighting. The space was approximately 80 by 60 feet, 20-foot ceilings. Viewing boxes had been installed at upper levels, glass-walled, climate-controlled. The observers were settling into them like theater patrons. Henny was already there, bandaged extensively. Her left arm was wrapped. Her neck showed burn marks. She was conscious, but barely, leaning against the wall for support. Liam arrived last. He looked uninjured, except for the dart wound on his neck, a small bandage covering it. Neil waited in the center of the room. Behind him were 3 pedestals, each holding a weapon. Betsy cataloged them. A knife looked like a K-bar, 7-inch blade, partial serration. A hammer, standard claw hammer, 16-ounce head, wooden handle. A chain, approximately 6 feet of industrial chain, links about 1 inch, steel construction. Round 2, Neil announced, his voice echoing in the concrete space, the crucible of choice. This one's simple. You'll each choose a weapon, then you'll fight. Fight who? Liam asked. Neil's smile widened. Each other. Henny pushed off the wall. No way, I won't. You will. Neil pulled a remote from his pocket, clicked it. A massive screen descended from the ceiling, displaying 3 video feeds. Betsy's feed showed her mother, Margaret Carter, age 73, sleeping in her nursing home bed. The timestamp read 12:47 a.m., current time. The angle suggested a camera mounted above the bed, probably on the smoke detector housing. Liam's feed showed a child, approximately 6 years old, sleeping in a small bedroom. Pink walls, stuffed animals, nightlight shaped like a moon. Henny's feed showed a man, unconscious, cable tied to a chair in what looked like a basement. Robert Chen, Betsy assessed from Henny's reaction. Your loved ones, Neil said. Right now, my associates are with them. If you don't fight, really fight, they die. If you hold back, they die. Make it real or they pay the price. Betsy stared at her mother's sleeping face, felt nothing. The woman had raised her adequately, provided food, shelter, education, had worked multiple jobs after Betsy's father left, had done everything society expected of a mother. But Betsy had stopped feeling emotional attachment to her at approximately age 16, when she realized that familial bonds were just evolutionary programming designed to ensure species survival. Her mother's death would be inconvenient. It would require funeral arrangements, estate settlement, various bureaucratic procedures, but it wouldn't fundamentally alter Betsy's existence. She'd already set up automated systems to handle her mother's care if she herself died. But Neil didn't need to know that. You're a monster, she said flatly. Let him believe she cared. I'm a businessman. Choose your weapons. Betsy moved first, analyzing options. The knife required close proximity, but offered precision. She could control depth and location of cuts, maximize visual impact while minimizing actual damage. The hammer was blunt force, harder to control, higher chance of genuine injury. The chain offered range and defensive capability, but required skill she didn't have. She took the knife. Liam moved to the hammer. Henny, trembling, lifted the chain. You have 10 minutes, Neil said. Fight until one of you yields or can't continue. Oh, and contestants, we'll know if you're faking. Make it convincing, or watch them die. On my mark, begin. Liam came at Henny first, roaring. The hammer swung in a wide arc toward her head. Henny ducked, the chain rattling as she stumbled backward. Betsy watched for 3 seconds, analyzing their movements. Liam's swing had been powerful but slow, deliberately slow. At his size and evident training, he could have swung 30% faster. The hammer had passed 6 inches above Henny's head. She could have remained standing and it still would have missed. Henny's dodge was theatrical, excessive. She'd stumbled too far, lost balance too easily. They were performing. Betsy immediately understood. This wasn't random. They were plants, or at minimum, they'd been briefed. This was orchestrated. She adapted instantly. If this was performance, she needed to perform convincingly while gathering more information. Fight, Neil's voice boomed, or watch them die. On the screen, a figure appeared next to Betsy's mother, holding a pillow near her face. Betsy's pulse didn't change. The figure stood 3 feet from the bed, too far to smother quickly. The pillow was held at waist height, not raised. The body language was hesitant. They were bluffing or following a script. But she moved anyway, rushing at Liam. The knife was indeed dull. She tested the edge subtly when picking it up. It would cut, but not deeply, without significant pressure. She slashed at Liam's shoulder, following the natural contour of the deltoid muscle, angling the blade to create maximum surface cut with minimum depth. Blood appeared, bright red, thin, too thin. Stage blood mixed with real blood, probably concealed in a small packet under his shirt. Liam's backhand came at her face. She tracked it, calculated impact point, turned her head at the last second to take the blow on her cheekbone rather than temple. The impact was significant, but controlled. He'd pulled it by approximately 40%. Still hurt. Her assessment went from performance to controlled demonstration. They continued. Henny swung the chain at Liam, catching him across the back with a sound like a firecracker. Liam dropped to one knee, crying out. The welt that appeared was real but superficial. The chain had struck at an angle that maximized sound while distributing force. Betsy counted inconsistencies. Blood patterns wrong, too bright, too thin in places. Impact sounds theatrical, amplified or enhanced. Recovery times too fast. Liam took a devastating hammer blow to the ribs that should have broken bones, but was standing fully upright 15 seconds later. Positioning too calculated. They never actually cornered each other, despite the space allowing it. No targeting of genuinely vulnerable areas. No strikes at knees, throats, eyes. This was choreographed violence. Real enough to hurt, fake enough to survive. The question was, why? She continued participating, adding her own calculated violence. The knife opened a cut on Henny's thigh, superficial, along the fascia. Lots of blood, but no deep muscle damage. Henny screamed convincingly. The observers above were on their feet, phones out, recording. shouting encouragement. They believed it. Or, at least, they wanted to believe it enough that they weren't questioning too carefully. 10 minutes. Betsy tracked time internally. At 9 minutes 40 seconds, Henny collapsed. I can't, she sobbed. I can't do it anymore. Right on schedule, Betsy noted. Liam stood over her, hammer raised. His face was a mask of blood and anguish. I'm sorry, he whispered. Time. Neil stepped forward. That's time. Well done, all of you. Truly spectacular. Liam dropped the hammer and collapsed beside Henny. Breathing heavily, covered in blood, looking like he'd just survived a battle, but his eyes were clear, alert, calculating. Liam, you showed the most aggression. $10 million is yours, already wired to account number 4738-9921-7766 at Cayman National Bank. Liam didn't react to the money, didn't even look up. Someone who just earned $10 million would react. Joy, relief, shock, something. His non-reaction was telling. But we're not done yet, Neil continued. Round 3 awaits. First, let's get you patched up. Betsy was led back to her holding cell. Different guards this time, same build, same military precision, but different faces. They had more than 4 guards total then. Probably a dozen or more based on rotation schedules. Dr. Vex returned at minute 6. This time, as she cleaned Betsy's wounds, all superficial, as expected, she leaned close enough that her breath touched Betsy's ear. You figured it out, she whispered. Betsy didn't respond immediately. Assessed the room. No visible cameras, but that meant nothing. Microphones could be anywhere. She spoke at normal volume. The cuts need better cleaning. Infection risk is significant. Yes, of course. Dr. Vex applied antiseptic. Whispered again, mouth barely moving. Listen quickly. My name is Dr. Sarah Vex. I've been trapped in this organization for 3 years. They took my sister, made me work for them. But there are 4 of us, staff who want out. We've been planning. Tonight is the night. Betsy held perfectly still while Dr. Vex returned at minute 6. Vex bandaged her forearm. The antiseptic stings. I'll use local anesthetic. Dr. Vex pulled out a syringe, administered it, whispered. You're not ordinary contestants. Henny Chen, her husband Robert, isn't just an abuser. He's one of the founding members of this society. She's been infiltrating for 2 years, looking for a way to destroy it from inside. Liam Torres, former Delta Force, dishonorably discharged after he refused orders during a black ops mission that targeted civilians. His daughter is safe. That footage was recorded 6 months ago, when they were first surveilling him. He volunteered for this. Betsy processed. The inconsistencies made sense now. This wasn't a game. It was an infiltration operation. And me? She asked it at normal volume, still playing the confused contestant. Dr. Vex applied more bandaging, whispered. You were supposed to be collateral, a real victim to make the operation look authentic. But Henny insisted on recruiting you. You're a security systems engineer. You built the encryption architecture for First National, Coastal Trust, and Pacific Securities. You designed their penetration-resistant frameworks. Betsy done that work 4 years ago. Consulting contracts that had paid well but hadn't led anywhere. She thought her security work was boring, routine. Apparently someone had noticed. More importantly, Dr. Vex continued, still working. The boy in the crosswalk, Marcus Lin, that wasn't your fault. The real investigation was classified. He was Senator Lin's son. The senator was investigating this organization. They caused that accident, cut his brake lines, hacked his car's computer systems to disable collision avoidance. You were just the weapon they used. They've been manipulating you with guilt for 10 years, keeping you under their radar, controlling you. The room tilted. Betsy felt something she hadn't felt in years. Rage. Not hot rage, cold rage. The kind that calculated and planned and waited. They'd used her. They'd murdered a child and made her the instrument. Had manipulated her psychological profile, feeding her guilt, keeping her isolated and controllable. She thought she'd dismantled her emotions, but apparently she'd just compressed them, waiting for a sufficient trigger. Why tell me now? Because round 3 is where we make our move. But we need you. We need your security expertise. Can you do it? Betsy thought about her mother, sleeping peacefully in her nursing home, unaware she was being used as leverage. Thought about Marcus Lin, 7 years old, killed by people who thought themselves untouchable. Thought about a decade of guilt that had been engineered, manufactured, weaponized. Tell me what to do. Dr. Vex finished the bandaging, spoke at normal volume. You're all set. Try not to reopen these. Thank you, Doctor. Dr. Vex packed her supplies. Whispered one last time as she turned to leave. Round 3. Watch for Henny's signal. Then she was gone. Betsy sat on the cot, processing. She was in the middle of an operation to destroy a secret society of wealthy predators. An operation that had recruited a battered wife, a dishonored soldier, and a guilt-manipulated engineer. They'd chosen well. Henny had motive and access. Liam had skills and ruthlessness. And Betsy had the one thing they needed most, the ability to dismantle security systems designed to be impenetrable. She lay back on the cot, closed her eyes, and began planning. Her mind worked like code, building logic trees, calculating probabilities, identifying vulnerabilities. By the time the guards came to collect her for round 3, she'd mapped 17 different approaches to compromising the estate's security, narrowed it to 3 optimal strategies, and selected primary and backup plans. The cold rage had settled into something sharper, something useful, something deadly. Round 3 took place back in the foyer. The 3 contestants stood before podiums, each with 2 buttons, red and blue. The observers had returned to the mezzanine, drinks refreshed, excitement palpable. Neil stood center stage. Round 3, the sacrifice. Here's how it works. Red button means you sacrifice yourself. You die, but the other 2 contestants survive and split 25 million each. Blue button means you choose survival. You live, but you forfeit any money from this round. You'll vote simultaneously. The interesting part is the math. He paced, enjoying his explanation. If all 3 vote blue, you all survive but proceed to round 4 with nothing. If one person votes red, they die and the others split the money. If 2 people vote red, he smiled. Then the one who voted blue survives alone with 50 million, and the 2 who voted red still die. You see the dilemma? The ultimate prisoner's paradox. Betsy analyzed the game theory. Standard defection problem. Optimal strategy depended on trust, coordination, and risk assessment. But if this was theater, the real choice was, which option advanced the operation? She caught Henny's eye. Henny gave the subtlest nod toward the blue button. Betsy understood. Everyone votes survival. Continue to next round. You have 60 seconds to decide. Voting begins now. Betsy's hand hovered over the buttons. She wasn't actually deciding. She was watching the observers. They'd leaned forward, completely focused. This was their favorite part, the psychological torture. Watching people calculate the value of their own lives against money and others' lives. These people paid millions to watch this, to feel the vicarious thrill of holding power over life and death. She memorized more faces, built her database, added notes about body language, reactions, engagement levels. At 55 seconds, she pressed blue. At 58 seconds, Henny pressed blue. At 59 seconds, Liam pressed blue. Neil clapped slowly. Well, well, all 3 chose survival. How disappointingly predictable. But I suppose that's human nature, isn't it? Self-preservation uber alles. The observers murmured, some disappointed, some apparently satisfied with confirming their cynical views of humanity. The game continues. Neil spread his arms. Round 4. The lights dimmed. Theatrical again. Always theatrical. Neil loved his drama. A spotlight illuminated the center of the foyer. Guards dragged out a man in an identical crimson suit. At first glance, he looked exactly like Neil. Same height, same build, same face. Identical twin or extreme resemblance. The man struggled against the guards, genuine terror in his eyes. Gagged with cloth, cable-tied wrists and ankles. Plot twist, Neil, the one who'd been hosting, announced, I'm not Neil. I'm Marcus, his twin brother. Fraternal twins, actually, but we look very similar. This is Neil. He gestured to the bound man. He's the one who created the Ascension game. Marcus circled his brother like a predator circling prey. See, here's the thing. Neil designed this game years ago, ran it 6 times, made a fortune from our esteemed observers here. But then he got cold feet. Marcus's voice dripped with contempt, started talking about shutting it down, said he couldn't live with the guilt. Can you imagine creating something so perfect, so pure in its distillation of human nature, and then wanting to destroy it? He stopped in front of Neil, yanked the gag down. Tell them, Marcus demanded. Tell them how you wanted to end it. Neil's voice was hoarse, desperate. It's murder, all of it. I created a machine that feeds on suffering, and I can't. Marcus backhanded him. Neil's head snapped to the side, blood spraying from split lips. Pathetic. So I made an executive decision. Neil would become a contestant in his own game. Poetic justice, don't you think? And I needed someone to replace him as host. Lucky for me, we'd been mistaken for each other our whole lives. Switching places was trivial. The observers were riveted. This was better than they'd expected. Internal betrayal. Brothers destroying each other. High drama. Betsy watched Liam. His posture had shifted. Weight forward. Muscles tensed. Ready to move? Henny's right hand had drifted to her thigh where the bandage was. Where Dr. Vex had placed something earlier, Betsy now realized. So here's round 4, Marcus continued. Your choice is simple. Kill Neil, the architect of your suffering, and you all walk away with 20 million each, wired immediately. Let him live, and you continue to round 5, where only one of you survives with 50 million. Oh, and if you refuse to kill him, he pulled out his Glock, pointed it at Betsy. I kill all 4 of you. Those are your options. Silence. Then Liam stepped forward. Give me something. I'll do it. Liam, no, and he started. My daughter needs me. I need that money. I'll do whatever it takes. His voice was harder now, the Boston accent fading. Military precision in his diction. Marcus smiled, tossed him a knife, different from the one they'd used in round 2. This one was sharp, real. A K-bar USMC combat knife. Make it memorable. Liam caught it, walked toward Neil. The bound man's eyes went wide with terror. He tried to speak, but only a wet gurgle came out through blood-filled mouth. Liam raised the blade slowly, theatrically. The observers leaned forward. Some had their phones out, recording. Then Liam spun, movement so fast it blurred, and threw the knife. It embedded in the throat of the nearest guard with a wet thunk. The man dropped, blood spurting from his carotid artery, dead before he hit the marble floor. Everything exploded simultaneously. Henny ripped away her thigh bandage, revealing a compact Glock 43 taped to her leg. She fired 3 shots in rapid succession. 3 observers dropped from the mezzanine, blood misting in the air, bodies tumbling over the railing. The shots were headshots, professional, executed. Betsy dove for her podium. Henny had placed something there during their walk to position. Betsy's fingers found it, a tablet, already powered on. She activated it. Entering the override code she designed 4 years ago for First National Bank's security architecture. The same architecture had been licensed to hundreds of buildings, including, she'd discovered during her 6 hours of research, this estate. Every electromagnetic lock in the building engaged simultaneously. Every door, every window, every emergency exit. The system was designed to lock down during robberies. Now, it locked down the observers. 63 access points, sealed in 3 seconds. No one was leaving. Liam had already reached the dead guard, stripped the man's rifle, an FN Scar 17, Betsy identified from the profile, and put 3 rounds into Marcus's chest. Center mass grouping, perfect triangle pattern. The game show host collapsed backward, his crimson suit blooming darker red. The block clattered from his hand. The observers panicked, screaming, running for doors that wouldn't open, pounding on windows designed to withstand hurricane-force winds. Some were calling for guards. Others were pulling out phones, trying to call for help. Betsy accessed the cellular jamming system, also part of the security architecture designed to prevent thieves from coordinating with outside accomplices. Now it prevented anyone from calling for help. All cell signals within the estate's footprint were dead. 4 figures appeared from concealed positions. Staff members, including Dr. Vex, all armed, 2 with pistols, 1 with a shotgun. Dr. Vex with a Sig Sauer P226. They moved with coordinated precision. Server room, Dr. Vex said. 2 minutes. Move. They formed a tactical formation. Liam on point, 2 staff members flanking, Henny covering rear, Betsy in the middle with the tablet. They moved through the foyer as chaos erupted around them. Guards appeared from the right corridor. 4 of them, all armed with pistols. Liam didn't hesitate. Dropped to 1 knee, fired 4 times. 4 bodies dropped. Headshots. He was inhumanly precise. East wing, Henny shouted, putting 2 rounds into a guard emerging from behind them. They turned into the corridor, moving fast. The estate was massive, had to be at least 30,000 square feet. Betsy tracked their route on the tablet's floor plan, highlighting optimal paths, identifying potential choke points. Right turn, 20 feet, she said. Server room is 40 feet beyond that. Reinforced door, biometric lock. Can you open it, Dr. B? Vex asked. Yes. They reached the door. Betsy accessed the lock system, retinal scanner, fingerprint reader, keypad backup. She bypassed all 3, sending override commands directly to the lock's control board. The door clicked open. The server room was cold, climate-controlled, filled with rack-mounted systems humming with activity. Betsy recognized the setup. Enterprise-grade servers, Probably 100 terabytes of storage minimum, heavy encryption. Redundant backups. She sat at the primary terminal, fingers moving across the keyboard. The interface was custom, but based on standard Linux architecture. She navigated to the root directory, found the security folders. What am I extracting? Everything, Henny said, standing guard at the door. Client lists, financial records, video files. They've recorded every game for 15 years. Every murder, every participant, every observer. Betsy opened the video directory, folders organized by date. She scrolled through, game after game, thousands of files, each labeled with dates and participant names. She opened one at random. The video showed 4 people in a room filled with water, rising slowly. They were chained to the floor. The last one to drown would survive. Betsy watched 30 seconds, enough to see a woman clawing desperately at another contestant, pushing her under, then closed it. Thousands of these files, thousands of murders, all watched by the same observers over and over, paying millions each time. Download will take time, Betsy said. The encryption is heavy, 20 minutes minimum. We don't have 20 minutes, one of the staff members said. Guards will be organizing. Then we buy time. Liam checked his rifle, counted ammunition. How many guards total? 18, Dr. Vex said. We've eliminated 7. 11 left. 11 against 7. I've faced worse odds. This isn't a war zone, Henny said. These are private security, not trained soldiers. They're still armed. Liam moved to the door. Vex, Collins, you stay here with Betsy. Protect the download. Henny, Morrison, Chen, you're with me. We hunt. They left. The sound of gunfire echoed through the building within 30 seconds. Betsy focused on the download, but her mind tracked the sounds. 3 shots, Liam's rifle, she identified from the report. 2 shots, different weapon, probably Henny's Glock. A shotgun blast. Screaming. More shots. The download crawled forward. 5%, 10%. Tell me about the observers, Betsy said, not looking up from the screen. Dr. Vex stood at the door, weapon ready. The ultra-wealthy. People who have everything and need to feel something. They started small, illegal gambling, underground fights. Then, someone had the idea to go further. Make it lethal. Make it personal. Desperate people are everywhere. And desperate people will do anything for money. How many games? 43. Over 15 years. Average 3 contestants per game. Not all contestants died. Sometimes they survived. But the survival rate is about 30%. Betsy calculated. Approximately 130 contestants. Approximately 90 dead. And that was just this organization. She was beginning to understand the scale. Are there other organizations like this? Dr. Vex hesitated. Yes, this is one of 7 that we know of. All operating independently, but sometimes sharing information, client lists. It's a network. How extensive? Globally? Probably 1,000 participants among the observer class. Maybe more. 1,000 people wealthy enough, bored enough, broken enough to pay millions to watch humans torture each other. And behind them, the infrastructure. Guards, doctors, technical staff, all complicit or coerced. The download hit 20%. More gunfire. Closer now. Betsy didn't flinch. The other groups, Betsy said. Do you have information on them? Some. Locations, suspected members, operational patterns, but nothing concrete enough to move against them. After tonight, we'll have concrete evidence. This database will have financial transactions. Money trails lead everywhere. Dr. Vex looked at her. You're already planning the next one? Efficiency dictates eliminating all related threats. Not just the immediate one. More gunfire. An explosion. Someone had used a grenade or improvised explosive. The building shook slightly. 30%. Betsy's fingers never stopped moving. While the download ran, she was exploring the system, finding additional files, financial records, thousands of transactions, shell corporations, offshore accounts, cryptocurrency wallets. The money trail was intricate but traceable if you knew what to look for. She found a separate folder labeled Contacts. Opened it. A database of observer names, addresses, financial information, behavioral profiles. She scrolled through. 637 individuals. Senator Richard Holbrooke was there. Vivian Chen, CEO of Helix Pharmaceuticals. Judge Thomas Warren. 3 federal judges. 12 senators. 41 CEOs. Dozens of entertainment industry figures. Tech moguls, old money aristocrats. This wasn't just a client list. This was a comprehensive targeting database. Do they know how much information you've kept on them? Betsy asked. Some do. Most don't. Neil was paranoid. He documented everything, called it insurance. It's more than that. This is blackmail material. Yes, Neil used it sometimes when observers got difficult, reminded them what he had on them. And so, Betsy opened another folder, Leverage. Inside were files for each observer. Criminal activities unrelated to the games, affairs, financial crimes, everything. Neil had built a comprehensive control system. 45%. 45%. The door burst open. Henny stumbled in, blood streaming from a cut above her eye. West Wing is compromised. Guards have heavy weapons. Morrison is dead. Chen is injured. How many guards left? Dr. Vex asked. 5, maybe 6. But they're calling someone. I heard radio chatter. Reinforcements might be coming. How long until they arrive? Unknown. Could be minutes, could be an hour. Betsy checked the download. 50%. I need 10 more minutes. We might not have 10 minutes. Then hold them off. Liam appeared in the doorway, covered in blood, none of it apparently his. They're setting up in the ballroom. Defensive position. Good sightlines. We can't dig them out without casualties. We don't need to dig them out, Betsy said, still typing. We just need them contained. Can you keep them in the ballroom? For how long? 9 minutes. Liam looked at Henny, then at Dr. Vex. Some unspoken communication passed between them. We can do 9 minutes. They left again. Betsy heard gunfire, then silence. Strategic silence. Both sides waiting, calculating. 60%. She opened another directory. Archives. Inside were historical files going back beyond 15 years. Documents describing the organization's founding. Original members. The evolution of their operation. It had started 23 years ago. 5 friends, all from generational wealth, who'd gotten bored with legal thrills. They'd started with underground fighting rings, betting on outcomes. Then, someone suggested raising the stakes, making it lethal. Finding people desperate enough to compete. The first game had been simple. 2 contestants, 1 knife, fight to the death. Winner gets $100,000. Both contestants had been homeless men with terminal illnesses. Both had agreed. One had won. The observers had felt something they hadn't felt in years. Genuine excitement. Not the manufactured thrill of movies or video games, but real consequence, real death. They'd been hooked. The games had evolved, become more complex, more psychological, more torturous. The prize money had increased to attract better contestants. People with families, with things to lose, with desperation that made them interesting to watch. Neil had joined in year 3, had brought organizational skills, technical expertise, the security architecture that made the operation sustainable. He'd been the architect who transformed it from amateur sadism to professional enterprise. Then he developed a conscience, started seeing the faces of the dead in his dreams, started questioning what they were doing. His brother Marcus hadn't. Marcus saw only the beauty of the system, the perfection of watching humans stripped to their basest instincts. 70%. Betsy found video files of Neil and Marcus arguing. She played one, sound muted, while the download continued. The footage showed them in an office, probably 2 years ago, based on timestamps. Neil was gesticulating, clearly emotional. Marcus remained calm, cold. At one point, Neil threw something, a glass, shattering against the wall. Marcus didn't even flinch. The argument ended with Marcus leaving. Neil collapsed into a chair, put his head in his hands. A week later, Marcus had replaced him. Had been impersonating Neil for 2 years. The real Neil had been held prisoner somewhere in the estate, forced to watch his creation continue without him. Poetic. Horrific. Perfectly fitting. 80%. Explosions in the distance. Multiple, synchronized. Dr. Vex's radio crackled. Kitchen is breached. Liam's voice. They're using grenades. We're falling back to the wine cellar. Can you seal the east corridor? Betsy accessed the security system. Triggered the emergency bulkheads in the east corridor. Heavy steel doors, designed to contain fires, slammed down, creating a barrier between the guards and the server room. Sealed, she said into Dr. Vex's radio. Copy. How long? 6 minutes. Make it 5. 90%. Betsy prepared the extraction. She'd brought multiple storage devices, 5 encrypted USB drives, each 2 terabyte capacity. She started copying files to all 5 simultaneously, creating redundant backups. If anything happened to one, the others would survive. The server room door shook. Someone was hitting it, probably using improvised battering ram. The door was reinforced, but it wouldn't hold forever. 95%. Dr. Vex aimed at the door. How long? 3 minutes. Can you go faster? No. The door shook harder. A dent appeared in the steel. They were using something heavy. Probably one of the marble sculptures from the foyer. 98%. Betsy's fingers flew across the keyboard. While the download finished, she was implementing her exit strategy. Access the fire suppression system, halon gas designed to starve fires of oxygen. Redirect it. Every room except the server room, wine cellar, and the path between them. She programmed a 15-minute delay. 99%. The door bent inward. A gap appeared at the top. A rifle barrel poked through. Fired blind. Bullets ricocheted off servers. Dr. Vex returned fire through the gap. Someone screamed. 100%. Done. Betsy yanked all 5 USB drives, stuffed them in different pockets. Move. Dr. Vex grabbed her, pulled her toward a back exit Betsy hadn't noticed. Concealed door in the server rack. They went through, into a maintenance corridor. Dark, narrow, filled with pipes and electrical conduits. Behind them, the server room door gave way. Guards poured in. They ran. Dr. Vex led. Betsy followed. The tablet still clutched in her hands. She accessed the security system one more time. Triggered the halon release immediately, instead of waiting 15 minutes. The guards in the server room would have approximately 90 seconds before they suffocated. They reached the wine cellar. Liam, Henny, and one other staff member, Chen, his leg bandaged heavily, waited there. Liam had acquired more weapons somehow. A small arsenal lay on the floor. Multiple rifles, pistols, ammunition, grenades. Status, Liam asked. Download complete. 5 redundant copies, exit strategy implemented. Betsy showed him the tablet. In approximately 12 minutes, halon gas will flood every room in this building except this one and our exit route. The observers will suffocate, along with any remaining guards. That's murder, Chen said. His face was pale, sweat slicked. Betsy looked at him. Yes. We can't. They should stand trial. They won't. Henny's voice was flat, dead. They're too wealthy. Too connected. They'll hire lawyers, drag it out for years, eventually walk free, or get minimal sentences. You know that. We all know that. But we're not executioners. Yes, we are. Liam checked his rifle. That's exactly what we are. We came here to eliminate this organization. All of it. That means the infrastructure and the clients. I didn't sign up for mass murder. Yes, you did. Dr. Vex's voice was quiet but sharp. When you agreed to this operation, you knew what it meant. We discussed it. No prisoners, no trials, just elimination. Chen looked at each of them, seeing no support. You're all insane. Probably, Betsy said. The question is whether your moral objection is worth derailing the operation. Because if you leave the cellar right now, you might be able to save some of them. Open doors, disable the gas system. You'd be a hero. You'd also be exposed, arrested, and you'd spend the rest of your life in prison because we'll all testify that you were part of the operation. Your choice. Chen stared at her. You're a fucking psychopath. I'm efficient. Different thing. Are you staying or going? He stayed. Betsy checked her tablet. We have 6 minutes before the gas starts. Plenty of time to set the fire. Fire? Chen's voice rose. You're burning it too? Evidence disposal. The halon will kill them, but we need to destroy forensic evidence. Bodies, DNA, fingerprints. Fire is efficient. Liam was already unpacking incendiary devices, homemade thermite charges from the look of them. I'll place them. Vex, help me. Henny, watch the door. Betsy, Chen, start wiping your tracks. They worked in practice silence. Liam and Dr. Vex disappeared into the estate's corridors, placing charges. Betsy used the tablet to wipe security footage, delete system logs, corrupt backup files. Everything that could identify them had to be eliminated. Chen sat against the wall, staring at nothing. My sister's a lawyer, he said to no one in particular. She believes in the system, believes in justice. Good for her, Henny said, not looking away from the door. What am I going to tell her? Nothing. You're going to disappear. New identity, new life. That was always the plan. I know, but no buts. Henny finally looked at him. You want to know what I'm going to tell my husband when I see him again? Nothing. Because I'm not going to see him again. Henny Chen dies tonight. Someone else walks out of here. That's the price. Chen fell silent. Liam and Dr. Vex returned. Charges set. 45 locations. When they go off, this whole structure comes down. Timer? Betsy asked. 30 minutes. Gives us time to clear the perimeter. Betsy checked her tablet. The halon gas had started flowing. In the ballroom, on the mezzanine, in rooms throughout the estate, observers and guards were starting to feel the effects. Dizziness, confusion, difficulty breathing. Within 3 minutes, unconsciousness. Within 6, death. Some would realize what was happening and try to escape, would find the doors locked, would pound on windows that wouldn't break, would die clawing at walls. Betsy felt nothing. She'd done the math. These people had funded 43 games, approximately 90 deaths. They'd recorded every moment, kept the videos like trophies. They were predators. Predators got eliminated. Exit route? Henny asked. Maintenance tunnel. Dr. Vex pointed to another concealed door. Runs underneath the estate, comes out half a mile down the coast. From there, we split up. Separate vehicles, separate routes. The real Neil? Betsy asked. Everyone paused. In the chaos, they'd forgotten about him. Still in the foyer, probably, Liam said. Cable-tied, couldn't escape. Do we extract him? Chen asked. Silence. They looked at each other. He created this, Henny said. He's as guilty as his brother. He wanted to stop it, Dr. Vex countered. That's why Marcus replaced him. Wanting to stop and actually stopping are different things. He ran this operation for years, profited from it. Gillett doesn't absolve him. He has information, Betsy said, about the other organizations, about the network. He could be useful. Or he could be a liability, Liam said. He talks, we're exposed. More silence. I'll get him, Chen said, standing. Someone should try to be human here. You have 4 minutes, Betsy said. After that, you're dead too. Chen left, limping on his injured leg. He's not coming back, Henny said. Probably not, Liam agreed. A waited. 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes. He's not coming back, Henny repeated. We need to move, Dr. Vex said. Gas is spreading and the fire is on a timer. They went through the concealed door into the maintenance tunnel. It was concrete, narrow, lit by emergency lighting. Water dripped somewhere. The sound of the ocean was distant, but constant. They'd gone maybe 300 feet when they heard footsteps behind them, running, staggering. Chen emerged from the darkness, supporting Neil. The real Neil, bloodied and weak, barely conscious. Couldn't leave him, Chen gasped. Couldn't do it. Idiot, Henny muttered, but she helped Chen carry Neil. They moved through the tunnel. Behind them, the estate was dying. Betsy imagined the observers collapsing one by one. Senator Holbrook slumping in his viewing box. Vivian Chen choking on carpet. Judge Warren's eyes going blank. 37 people with a combined net worth exceeding $50 billion, dying in the monument to their own cruelty. The tunnel ended at a concealed exit, hidden among rocks on a small beach. They emerged into cold night air. The estate was visible above them on the cliff, lit from within. No signs of the carnage inside. 5 vehicles waited. 3 cars, 2 motorcycles. All stolen or purchased through untraceable means. This is where we separate, Liam said. Henny, you take the Honda, head south. Vex, the motorcycle, head north. Collins didn't make it, so Betsy, you take his BMW, head east. Chen, you and Neil take the Toyota, head inland. I'll take the other motorcycle, go west. When do we meet again? Chen asked. We don't, Henny said. That's the point. We disappear. Become different people. Maybe in 5 years, maybe in 10, we find ways to contact each other, but not before. What about the other organizations? Betsy asked. You have the data, Liam said. Do what you want with it. Upload it, send it to journalists, use it to hunt them. Your choice. What are you going to do? What I'm good at. Hunt. They exchanged no further words, no emotional goodbyes. They'd been strangers 6 hours ago. They'd be strangers again. Betsy got in the BMW, placed the USB drives in a hidden compartment Chen had prepared earlier. As she drove away, she checked the time. 28 minutes since the charges had been set. She drove inland, then north, then west, taking a random path to obscure her direction. At minute 30, she pulled over, got out, looked back toward the coast. The explosion was visible, even from 15 miles away. A massive fireball that lit the sky orange, visible for seconds before fading. The sound came later, a deep rumble that felt like thunder. The Vermilion estate collapsed inward, the structure failing, everything falling to the cliff and rocks below. Within hours, the fire would consume what remained. Within days, investigators would find bodies, charred beyond recognition, impossible to ID without DNA analysis that would take weeks. By then, the 6 of them would be ghosts. Betsy got back in the car, drove to a pre-arranged storage unit in Sacramento. Inside was a new identity, passport, driver's license, credit cards, all in the name Sarah Mitchell. A complete background had been created, digital footprints planted, work history established. Sarah Mitchell had been a financial consultant in Denver for 3 years, had recently quit to travel, had left no suspicious traces. Betsy Carter ceased to exist. Sarah Mitchell took her place. She spent the night in a motel, planning. The USB drives contained 637 names, 7 known organizations, thousands of financial transactions. She could upload everything immediately. Let the world burn with outrage, let law enforcement scramble. Some people would be arrested. Some would flee. Some would commit suicide. Justice of a sort. Or she could be strategic. Study the data, identify the other organizations, infiltrate them one by one, eliminate them systematically. The first option was satisfying but incomplete. The second was efficient. Betsy, Sarah now, chose efficiency. She spent 3 days in that motel room, analyzing data, built profiles of the 6 other organizations, identified their locations, Dubai, Singapore, Moscow, Sao Paulo, Cape Town, Tokyo, mapped their operations, their security, their vulnerabilities. Then she began uploading information selectively. Not everything, just enough to create chaos. Client lists for the Vermilion estate appeared on WikiLeaks. Financial transactions appeared on whistleblower sites. Video files appeared in journalists' inboxes. But she held back information about the other organizations. That was for later. 3 days after Vermilion, the anchor looked shaken, reading from prepared notes. We're now confirming at least 37 bodies recovered from the Vermilion estate fire. The deceased include Senator Richard Holbrooke, Helix Pharmaceuticals CEO Vivian Chen, Federal Judge Thomas Warren, and dozens of other prominent individuals. Authorities are calling this one of the worst mass casualty events in California history. What makes this tragedy even more disturbing are the files that began appearing online yesterday. Videos and documents allegedly showing these individuals participating in what investigators are calling murder entertainment, a secret society that paid to watch people tortured and killed. The FBI has confirmed the authenticity of some of these files and has opened a criminal investigation. But questions remain. Who leaked these files? How did the fire start? And most critically, who killed these people? Because investigators are now saying the fire wasn't an accident. Evidence of accelerants, explosive devices, and most disturbing, traces of halon gas, a fire suppression agent that can be lethal in enclosed spaces. Someone deliberately killed everyone in that building. The perpetrators left no evidence, no fingerprints, no DNA, no witnesses. It's as if they were ghosts. 1 week later. Vermilion massacre, vigilante justice, or mass murder. In the weeks since 37 bodies were discovered in the burned ruins of the Vermilion estate, law enforcement officials have made 0 arrests and identified 0 suspects. The perpetrators, who authorities believe numbered between 4 and 7 individuals, vanished without a trace. This was a professional operation, says FBI Special Agent Marcus Webb. Military-grade precision, sophisticated technical knowledge, and the ability to disappear completely. These weren't amateurs. But public opinion is divided. The leaked files show decades of horrific crimes committed by the deceased. Videos show people being tortured, forced to fight to the death, subjected to psychological torments designed to break them. My son was in one of those games, says Margaret Torres of Boston. He disappeared 3 years ago. Police couldn't find him. Now I know why. He was murdered for entertainment by people so rich they thought they could get away with it. Dozens of families are coming forward with similar stories. Missing persons cases that went nowhere. Investigations that stalled. And now, evidence that their loved ones died for sport. So you ask me if I'm glad those people are dead? Torres continues. Yes, I'm glad. They were monsters. Someone stopped them. Maybe that makes the person who stopped them a monster too? I don't care. Law enforcement faces a dilemma. Pursue justice for mass murder, or acknowledge that the victims were themselves murderers who would have escaped conventional justice. We're pursuing all leads, Webb says carefully. But I'll be honest, there's not much public pressure to solve this case. A lot of people think whoever did this did the world a favor. 2 months later, Sarah Mitchell sat in a Vancouver coffee shop, reading news on her tablet. Another arrest in London. A businessman connected to the Vermilion files had been charged with conspiracy to commit murder. Another suicide in New York. A hedge fund manager whose face appeared in multiple videos had hanged himself in his office. The dominoes were falling, but slowly. Too slowly. She checked her encrypted email. 3 messages. User Falcon. Dubai location confirmed. Member list matches database. Timeline? User Phoenix. Singapore under surveillance. Security is heavier than Vermilion. Needs specialist. That was her cue. Sarah replied to User Phoenix. Liam, she knew from the coding style and tactical terminology. User Raven. Available. Timeline 3 months for preparation. Dubai takes priority. Simpler security architecture. Minutes later, a reply from user Falcon, Henny, obvious from the obsessive detail in her reconnaissance reports. User Falcon, agreed. Dubai first. Meet in 2 weeks. Coordinates to follow. Sarah finished her coffee, paid in cash, left no trace. She'd made this coffee shop part of her routine for 6 weeks. Long enough to be familiar, not long enough to be memorable. After today, she'd never return. She walked through Vancouver rain, mind already on Dubai. She'd been researching the organization there called the Golden Circle, 15 members, operating for 12 years, smaller than Vermilion, but more sophisticated. They'd learned from others' mistakes. She'd need to learn their security architecture, their financial systems, their vulnerabilities. She had 3 months. In her apartment, rented under another false name, paid 6 months in advance. She opened her laptop. The USB drives were stored in a safe deposit box in a bank she'd never visit again, but she'd created encrypted backups scattered across multiple cloud services. She opened the files on the Dubai organization. 12 confirmed members, 3 suspected members. Meeting location changed monthly. Heavy security, ex-military contractors, sophisticated surveillance, biometric access controls. Challenging. Good. She began building her infiltration plan. Security systems were her specialty. Every system had vulnerabilities. You just had to find them. And then Sarah felt nothing she'd arranged for her mother's continued care through an irrevocable trust. The money from Vermilion's accounts that she'd quietly transferred before destroying the estate. Her mother would never want for anything. But Sarah Mitchell couldn't visit her. Betsy Carter was dead. She typed back, "Tell her I'm traveling. Tell her I'm happy." Then she pulled the battery from the phone, dropped it in water, threw the pieces in different trash cans across the city. She worked through the night, building the Dubai plan. By dawn, she had preliminary infiltration routes, security bypass strategies, and extraction protocols. It wouldn't be easy. People might die, on their side, on the enemy's side. But it was necessary. These organizations existed because wealthy predators needed to feel something, needed to assert power over life and death, needed to remind themselves they were above consequence. Someone had to prove them wrong. 6 months later, breaking news from Dubai, where authorities are investigating a mysterious fire at a private club in the Emirates Hills district. At least 41 bodies have been discovered, all apparently suffocated before the fire began. The deceased includes several prominent business leaders, a member of the UAE royal family, and multiple international figures. But perhaps most shocking are the files that appeared online this morning, documents and videos suggesting the club was headquarters for an organization similar to the Vermilion Society that was destroyed in California earlier this year. Security footage shows masked figures entering and leaving the building, but their identities remain unknown. Investigators are calling it the Vermilion Incident copycat, and speculation is mounting that the same perpetrators may be responsible. Interpol has issued a statement acknowledging they're investigating potential links between the two incidents, but they have no suspects and no leads. The perpetrators continue to evade identification. Public reaction has been mixed. While some call for justice against these vigilantes, others point to the videos being released, evidence of dozens of murders committed by the deceased for entertainment purposes. These weren't innocent victims, says human rights advocate Sarah Voss. These were predators who believed their wealth placed them above the law. Someone is proving them wrong. The question everyone is asking, will they strike again? Strong year after Vermilion. Strong. User Raven. Singapore complete. 15 eliminated. Files uploading now. User Falcon. Moscow complete. 23 eliminated. Complications during extraction. Lost Vex. User Phoenix. Status on Vex. User Falcon. KIA. Took 3 guards with her. Body destroyed in fire. No forensic identification possible. Acceptable losses. User Falcon. Acceptable. She knew the risks. Sao Paulo operation is greenlit. Timeline, 3 months. Raven, we need you for security infrastructure. Confirmed. Sending preliminary analysis now. Sarah sat in her Tokyo apartment, looking at the files she'd just uploaded. Dr. Sarah Vex, real name Elizabeth Chen, had died destroying the Moscow operation. She'd been shot twice, covering their extraction. Had stayed behind to ensure the others escaped. Had triggered the incendiaries manually when the remote detonation failed. Sarah felt nothing about her death. Dr. Vex had been a tool, a useful component in the operation. She'd performed her function and ceased to exist. Efficient, in its way. But she recognized that others might feel differently. Henny had worked with Vex for 3 years. Liam had trusted her in combat. They might experience grief, loss, guilt. Sarah didn't understand those emotions anymore. Wasn't sure she ever really had, but she understood their tactical implications. Grief could compromise performance, cause hesitation, lead to mistakes. User Raven. Recommend 2-week pause before Sao Paulo. Allow emotional processing time. User Phoenix. Unnecessary. We're operational. User Falcon. Agreed. Vex wouldn't want us to slow down. She'd want us to finish this. Sarah accepted their assessment. They knew their own operational capability better than she could calculate it. She opened the Sao Paulo files. This organization called themselves the Collectors. Pretentious but descriptive. They collected rare experiences. Watching people die in elaborate scenarios was just one item in their collection. 19 members. 8 years operational. They'd learned from the others' failures. No permanent location. Meeting sites changed weekly. Members used code names. Heavy counter-surveillance. Difficult. Good. Sarah preferred challenges. She began analyzing their patterns, looking for vulnerabilities. Every system had them. Human systems especially. People were the weakest link in any security architecture. They had habits, patterns, predictable behaviors. They made mistakes. The collectors rotated through 12 different locations in Sao Paulo. Sarah mapped them all, analyzed security at each site, identified optimal breach points. She cross-referenced member profiles with financial data, looking for leverage points. One member, codenamed Jaguar, had a gambling addiction. Another, Serpent, was having an affair with his business partner's wife. A third, Condor, was embezzling from his own company. Vulnerabilities, every one of them. Sarah drafted an infiltration plan that exploited all three. Get Jaguar in debt to the right people, use him for access. Threaten to expose Serpent's affair. Leverage him for information. Frame Condor for additional embezzlement, create internal conflict. Classic intelligence work. Human manipulation at scale. She sent the plan to User Phoenix and User Falcon. Waited for response. User Phoenix. Complex. Higher chance of compromise. User Raven. Higher chance of success. Direct assault on rotating target is low probability. This approach isolates them, brings them to us. User Falcon. I like it. Psychological warfare. Make them destroy themselves. User Phoenix. Timeline extends to 4 months. User Raven. Acceptable. Better to wait and succeed than rush and fail. User Phoenix. Approved. Begin phase 1. Sarah closed the chat, opened a new window. She had work to do. Jaguar needed to lose approximately $2 million in the next 3 weeks. That required setting up rigged games, bribing the right people, creating an irresistible opportunity. She started with financial analysis. Jaguar, real name Carlos Mendez, had liquid assets of approximately $8 million. Losing $2 million would hurt but not cripple him. He'd need to recover those losses, would take bigger risks, would eventually lose more. The gambling spiral was predictable. Sarah had studied it extensively. Knew exactly how to trigger it, how to feed it, how to ensure it led exactly where she wanted. She created shell companies, established cryptocurrency accounts, built a network of fake identities that would offer Mendez increasingly risky opportunities. Each one would take him deeper into debt, deeper into desperation. Within 3 weeks, he'd be compromised. Within 2 months, he'd do anything to recover his losses, including betraying the collectors. 3 months later, Sao Paulo. Sarah watched from across the street as Carlos Mendez entered the building. He looked terrible, unshaven, disheveled, wearing the same suit he'd worn yesterday. A man drowning in debt and bad decisions. Perfect. She'd bled him for $3.2 million over 12 weeks. Every time he thought he'd found a way to recover, she'd engineered a new loss. Every time he'd started to give up, she'd dangled new opportunity. Classic manipulation. Keep them hoping, keep them desperate. Now he owed money to people who didn't exist. People she'd created. People who were threatening his family, his business, his life. She'd offered him a solution. Information. Tell her about the collector's next meeting location and his debts would disappear. He'd agreed. Of course he'd agreed. People always chose survival. Her phone buzzed. Text from Mendez. Warehouse District. Rua das Flores, 8:47, Friday midnight. 14 numbers expected. Sarah deleted the message, removed the phone's battery, disposed of both pieces separately. She sent encrypted message to User Phoenix and User Falcon. Location confirmed. Friday midnight. 14 targets. Proceed to phase 2. The building Mendez had entered was a front, an import-export company he owned. Inside, he was probably drinking, trying to steady his nerves. Wondering if he'd made a terrible mistake. He had. But not the one he thought. Sarah had always planned to kill him. He was a member of the collectors. had participated in 18 confirmed murders. The debt manipulation was just a tool to extract information. His usefulness ended the moment he sent that text. She walked 3 blocks, entered a different building, took stairs to the roof. From here, she had clear sightline to Mendez's office window. She assembled the rifle, custom build. .308 caliber, suppressor, high-quality optics. 0 to 200 meters, the distance to Mendez's window was 187 meters. Easy shot. She waited. At 2:47 p.m., Mendez appeared at his window, phone to his ear. Probably calling his wife, or his lawyer, or someone else who couldn't help him. Sarah exhaled slowly, squeezed the trigger. The suppressed shot was barely audible over city noise. The window didn't shatter, special glass that spider-webbed but held. But Mendez dropped, the phone clattering from his hand. Through the scope, Sarah confirmed. Center mass hit. Probably through the heart. He'd be dead in seconds. She disassembled the rifle, packed it in a nondescript bag, left the building. By the time anyone found Mendez, she'd be across the city. By the time police investigated, the rifle would be at the bottom of a river. By the time they identified her building, she'd be in a different country. She'd killed hundreds of people over the past year. This one felt no different from the others. Just a problem eliminated. Just a step in the process. User Raven. Jaguar eliminated. Information confirmed reliable. Proceeding to staging phase. User Phoenix. Serpent is compromised. Wife received photos. He's looking for exit. I'm offering one. User Falcon. Condor's embezzlement exposed. Company board wants him arrested. He'll flip for immunity. Everything was proceeding optimally. The collectors were fracturing from within. By Friday, they'd be paranoid, suspicious, already half defeated before the assault began. Friday midnight. The warehouse was isolated. Industrial district. Minimal foot traffic. Perfect for secret meetings. Also perfect for ambush. Sarah was positioned on an adjacent building's roof, 300 meters distant. She had eyes on the entire approach. Infrared scope, night vision, rangefinder. Liam was on ground level, covering the rear exit. Henny was inside a van 2 blocks away, controlling their electronic warfare. Cell jammers, security system overrides, police band monitoring. They'd recruited 2 new members for this operation. User Eagle, former Mossad operative, specialist in close-quarters combat. User Wolf, Russian FSB defector, demolitions expert. Both had their own reasons for joining. Both had proven reliable in preliminary operations. The collectors began arriving at 11:47 p.m. Sarah counted them through her scope. 1, 2, 3, 11 total. 3 missing. User Raven, 11 targets, 3 no-shows. Possible compromise? User Falcon, checking communications. Serpent sent warning message 1 hour ago. Was intercepted, but 3 members may have received it. User Phoenix, recommend abort? Sarah calculated. 11 targets versus 6 operators. Acceptable odds. The 3 missing members could be hunted later. She had their identities, their addresses, their routines. But this opportunity might not come again. User Raven, negative. Proceed. Mark missing targets for follow-up elimination. User Eagle, confirmed, initiating. Eagle entered first, walked straight through the front door like he belonged there. The collectors had security, but Eagle had their current passwords courtesy of Serpent, who traded everything for a promise of protection. He disabled 2 guards in 10 seconds. Silent, professional, bodies hidden before anyone noticed. Sarah watched through her scope as the meeting began inside. The collectors sat around a large table, drinks poured, relaxed. They thought they were safe, thought their precautions were sufficient. Wolf placed charges at structural points, 8 locations, synchronized detonation, calculated to bring the building down in a controlled collapse. He worked in darkness, invisible to the collectors inside their lit meeting room. Henny activated the cell jammer, cut landlines, disabled the warehouse's internet connection. The collectors were isolated, unable to call for help. Liam moved to the rear exit, positioned for anyone who tried to flee. Sarah waited. She was the fail-safe. Anyone who escaped the building would die to her rifle. Eagle's voice came through comms. In position. 3 guards remaining, all upstairs, neutralizing. Silence. Them, guards down. Building secured. Ready for Phase 3. Phase 3 was simple. Kill everyone inside, burn the evidence, disappear. Eagle threw flashbangs through the windows. Even from 300 meters, Sarah saw the bright detonations, heard the muffled bangs. The collectors would be blind, deaf, disoriented. Eagle and Wolf entered simultaneously from different doors, rifles up. Sarah watched through her scope, couldn't see details, but saw muzzle flashes, saw bodies dropping, saw the systematic execution of 11 people in approximately 40 seconds. Professional, efficient, perfect. Wolf activated the charges. 30 seconds. Exfil now. Eagle and Wolf withdrew, moving fast but controlled. Reached minimum safe distance with 3 seconds to spare. The charges detonated. The warehouse didn't explode dramatically. That was Hollywood nonsense. It collapsed. Support structures failed simultaneously, the building folding in on itself like a house of cards. Within 5 seconds, it was rubble. Within 10 seconds, dust was billowing outward in a massive cloud. Wolf's secondary charges ignited. Thermite, white hot, burning at 2,500 degrees Celsius. The rubble caught fire. Bodies would be incinerated. Evidence would be destroyed. Forensic analysis would take weeks and yield nothing useful. Sarah packed her rifle, withdrew from her position, met the others at the extraction point, a parking garage 2 kilometers away. 6 people, 6 vehicles, 6 different directions. 3 missing, Sarah said. Serpent warned them. I have their locations. I'll take one, Liam said. Eagle, you take one. Raven, you take the third. They exchanged information. Names, addresses, security details. Then they separated. No celebration, no congratulations. Just the next task. Sarah drove to the home of collector number 12. Real name, Patricia Alves, pharmaceutical executive, twice divorced. Lived alone in a gated community. Security was moderate. Cameras, guard at the gate, alarm system. Sarah bypassed all of it. She'd hacked the security company's systems 3 days ago, had administrative access to every camera, every alarm, every sensor, made them all report normal while she entered through a second-floor window. Patricia Alves was sleeping, probably dreaming, probably felt safe in her fortress of wealth and technology. Sarah stood over her bed for approximately 3 seconds, considered waking her, making her understand why she was dying. Decided it was inefficient. Emotional satisfaction wasn't the goal. She placed the pillow over Alves's face, pressed down, held it for 3 minutes. Alves woke, struggled, tried to scream. Sarah held firm. Eventually, the struggling stopped. Death by asphyxiation. Would look like natural causes if the autopsy was cursory. Would reveal murder if examined closely. Didn't matter. Sarah would be gone before anyone found the body. She left the way she came, drove to the airport, boarded a flight to Buenos Aires under another false identity. By the time Patricia Alves's maid found her body the next morning, Sarah was in a different country, already planning the next operation. User Raven, target 12 eliminated, status. User Phoenix, target 13 eliminated, car accident. Very convincing. User Eagle, target 14 eliminated, home invasion gone wrong. Police will find evidence pointing to local gang. The collectors were extinct. 19 members, all dead. Files were uploading now. Evidence of their crimes, their identities, their 8 years of murders. The world would learn what they'd done. Some people would be shocked. Most would be satisfied. Sarah felt nothing. Just completion. Just another problem solved. 18 months after Vermilion. The ghost massacres and analysis. In the 18 months since the Vermilion estate burned, 7 similar incidents have occurred across 4 continents. Each time, a secret organization catering to ultra-wealthy individuals engaged in murder entertainment has been completely eliminated. Each time, extensive evidence of their crimes has appeared online. Each time, the perpetrators have vanished without a trace. A pattern has emerged. 1. Vermilion Estate, California, 37 dead. 2. Golden Circle, Dubai, 41 dead. 3. Red Lotus Society, Singapore, 15 dead. 4. The Ascension Network, Moscow, 23 dead. 5. The Collectors, Sao Paulo, 19 dead. 6. The Midnight Court, Cape Town, 31 dead. 7. The Silent Auction, Tokyo, 26 dead. Total, 192 dead, 0 arrests. 0 suspects identified. They're ghosts, says Interpol Director James Chen. We've coordinated with law enforcement agencies across 12 countries. We have literally nothing. No forensic evidence that survives their cleanup. No witnesses who can provide useful descriptions. No digital traces. It's unprecedented. But who are they? How many? Where will they strike next? Behavioral analysts have developed a profile, probably military trained, possibly former intelligence operatives, highly organized, well-funded, ideologically motivated, willing to kill not just the direct perpetrators, but everyone involved. Guards, staff, even coerced participants. They're not heroes, warns FBI profiler James Weston. They're serial killers with a veneer of justice. Yes, their victims were criminals, but so are the ghosts. They've killed nearly 200 people. That's not justice. That's genocide. But public opinion suggests otherwise. A recent poll showed 67% of Americans believe the ghosts are doing necessary work. Only 23% believe they should be arrested. 10% were unsure. My daughter was in one of those games, says Margaret Foster of Seattle. She was desperate, in debt, and these monsters exploited that. They tortured her for entertainment. She died screaming while rich people watched and laughed. So yes, I'm glad the ghosts exist. I hope they never stop. Legal experts are divided on how to prosecute such cases, if suspects are ever found. Is it possible to argue justified homicide when the victims were themselves murderers who would have escaped conventional justice? Can vigilante actions be defended when the legal system has demonstrably failed? We're in uncharted territory, says Harvard Law professor David Martinez. The ghosts are simultaneously solving a problem and creating a new one. They're eliminating predators that the legal system couldn't touch, but they're also normalizing extrajudicial killing. They're teaching people that if the system fails, you can just kill the bad guys yourself. That's a dangerous precedent. Perhaps most disturbing is the evidence emerging from the ghost files. The 7 organizations weren't isolated, they were networked. They shared information, traded techniques, sometimes even traded victims. And they were just the visible tip of a much larger iceberg. We've identified at least 15 other organizations operating globally, says Chen. Most have gone dormant since the massacres began. They're afraid. Good. But that means they're still out there, waiting, watching, hoping the ghosts stop. Will they? 2 years after Vermilion. User Falcon. London operation complete. 12 eliminated. But we have a problem. User Raven, specify. User Falcon, 1 escaped. Member called Phoenix. Ironic, I know. Former SAS, better trained than expected. Killed Eagle during extraction. Escaped with files. User Phoenix. Eagle status? User Falcon. Kaya. Body destroyed per protocol. But Phoenix has operational details. Knows tactics, knows some identities. He's a threat. User Raven, probability he goes to authorities? User Falcon. Low, he's wanted for war crimes in 3 countries. Can't surface publicly. But he could warn other organizations. Could hunt us. User Wolf. Let him try. I'm tired of slaughtering sheep. A wolf would be more interesting. User Phoenix. This isn't a game. Eagle is dead because we got complacent. We've done 9 operations successfully. We're starting to think we're invincible. That's when mistakes happen. User Raven. Recommend 2-month stand down. Reassess security protocols. Hunt for Phoenix. Resume operations only after threat is neutralized. User Wolf. Disagree. We have momentum. There are still targets. User Falcon. Raven is right. Phoenix knows too much. We need to find him before he finds us. Sarah read the exchange from her Berlin apartment. Eagle. Real name unknown to her. They'd never exchanged real names. Was dead. That reduced their operational capacity by approximately 17%. More significantly, it meant they'd made mistakes. She reviewed all available data on the London operation, found the errors, inadequate reconnaissance on Phoenix's background, underestimation of his capabilities, failure to account for his military training, classic overconfidence. They'd become good at killing unprepared victims. Phoenix was a trained operator, different threat category. User Raven, initiating Phoenix hunt, uploading all available data now. We go dark until he's eliminated. She meant it. Uploaded everything she had on Phoenix. Real name, Marcus Ashford. Former SAS. Dishonorably discharged for killing civilians during an operation in Syria. He disappeared into private military contracting, then deeper into the shadows. Eventually found his way into London's murder entertainment circuit. Dangerous man. Skilled. Motivated. Now hunting them as they hunted others. Sarah felt something she hadn't felt in years. Anticipation, not fear. She dismantled that emotion long ago. But the intellectual challenge of hunting someone who could hunt back, of matching skills against an actual threat rather than unprepared victims. She began building his profile. Marcus Ashford would need resources, safe houses, weapons, intelligence. He'd need to stay hidden from authorities while hunting them. That limited his options. She identified approximately 40 locations globally where he could operate effectively. Began monitoring them through various digital means: financial tracking, surveillance camera access, communications intercepts. Within 3 days, she had a hit. A weapons purchase in Bucharest, specific configuration that matched Ashford's known preferences. The purchaser used false identity, but the behavioral patterns matched. Strong user Raven. Possible. Bucharest location. Investigating. She flew to Romania, began systematic surveillance of the arms dealer who'd made the sale. Followed his delivery routes, identified drop points, narrowed Ashford's location to 3 possibilities. The third location was correct. She confirmed it through thermal imaging. One occupant, male, approximately Ashford's build, moving with tactical awareness through the safe house. She could call in the others, make it a team operation, safer, higher probability of success. Or she could do it herself, test her skills against a genuine threat, measure herself against someone trained to kill. She chose efficiency over ego. User Raven, target confirmed Bucharest. Requesting backup. User Phoenix, en route. ETA 4 hours. User Falcon, en route. ETA 6 hours. Sarah maintained surveillance while waiting. Watched Ashford's patterns, his routines. His security measures. He was good. Varied his schedule, checked for surveillance, moved with constant awareness. But he'd made one mistake. Chosen a location. Any fixed position was a vulnerability. Liam arrived first. They met 2 blocks from the target, spoke minimal words. 3rd floor, northeast corner. 1 occupant, confirmed visual. Security, cameras, motion sensors, probably weapons cached throughout apartment. He's expecting company. Front or back? Neither. Roof access, then down through skylight, unexpected angle. Liam nodded. Henny, 2 hours out. We wait or proceed? Proceed, he might move. They moved. Sarah had already compromised the building's security, created a 30-minute loop in camera feeds. They entered through service entrance, took stairs to roof access. The skylight was reinforced. Smart. Ashford knew rooftop access was vulnerability, but reinforced glass could still break with enough force applied correctly. Liam placed a shaped charge, small, precise, would blow inward. They positioned on either side, weapons ready. Detonation. Glass shattered inward. Flashbang followed immediately. Then they dropped through. Liam first, Sarah second. Ashford wasn't there. The apartment was empty. Furniture arranged to look occupied through thermal imaging. But no one home. Trap, Liam said. Affirmative. Exfil? The explosion came from below. The floor beneath them detonated. Shaped charges placed at structural points. They fell through into the apartment below, onto concrete, rubble, and fire. Sarah hit hard, felt ribs crack, left arm break. Pain was information. She processed it, compartmentalized it, focused on survival. Gunfire. From the doorway. Ashford had been waiting in the hallway, had triggered the trap remotely. Bullets tore through the dust. Impossibly accurate despite limited visibility. Liam returned fire, providing cover. Sarah rolled left behind fallen beam, assessed situation. Liam was hit, shoulder wound, still functional. Ashford had position, superior angle, and had clearly prepared this scenario extensively. They were outmatched. Sarah calculated. Probability of successful engagement, approximately 30%. Probability of successful withdrawal, approximately 50%. Probability of both surviving, approximately 20%. Mathematics recommended withdrawal. But withdrawal meant Ashford survived, continued threatening them, potentially compromised entire operation. She made a decision. Removed one of her encrypted USB drives, the master copy, containing all data from all operations. Slid it across the floor to Liam. Extract. Upload everything if I don't make contact in 48 hours. Negative. Not a discussion. You have daughter to protect. I have no attachments. Probability calculation favors this distribution. More gunfire. Ashford was advancing, using suppressive fire to limit their options. Liam looked at her, seemed about to argue, then nodded, grabbed the drive, moved toward the blown-out wall that led to adjacent building. Disappeared into smoke and darkness. Smart, efficient, correct decision. Sarah was alone now. Arm broken, ribs cracked, limited ammunition, facing superior opponent in prepared position. She'd done the math. Probability of survival, approximately 8%. She smiled for the first time in 2 years. Finally, a genuine challenge. Ashford's voice cut through the smoke. Your friend abandoned you. Smart man. You should have done the same. Sarah didn't respond. Moved silently through rubble, repositioning. Ashford was trying to draw her out, get her talking, triangulate her position from her voice. Amateur mistake. She'd expected better. I know who you are, Ashford continued. Betsy Carter, systems engineer. Killed a boy in a crosswalk 10 years ago. Built a whole crusade from guilt. Wrong. Showed his intelligence was incomplete, but useful. His assumptions about her psychology were incorrect, which meant his tactical predictions would be wrong. She moved closer, using smoke as cover. Her broken arm was useless, but she could shoot left-handed. Accuracy would be reduced but acceptable at close range. You think you're heroes, Ashford said. Avenging angels, but you're just killers. Same as me. Same as everyone you've murdered. The only difference is you've convinced yourselves you're righteous. He was wrong about that too. Sarah had never convinced herself of anything. She'd simply identified problems and solved them. Righteousness was emotional. She operated on efficiency. She saw his shadow, cast by fires behind him, giving away position. He was moving, trying to flank her assumed position, but she wasn't there. She fired twice. Both shots center mass. Ashford dropped. Sarah approached carefully, weapon ready. He was down, but moving, reaching for something. She fired again. Headshot. He stopped moving. She checked pulse. Dead. Searched his body. Found encrypted phone. Probably contained intelligence on other operations, other organizations. Found weapons, cache keys. Found documents indicating he'd been planning to sell information about the ghost operations to other organizations for protection and profit. Mercenary to the end. At least he'd been consistent. Sarah extracted his phone, his documents, anything useful, left the body. The building was burning. By the time anyone responded, evidence would be compromised. She climbed out through the ruined wall, made her way to extraction point. Liam was waiting. Status? Target eliminated. She handed him Ashford's phone. Intelligence asset, probably valuable. Liam looked at her injuries. You need medical attention. After extraction, drive. They drove to a private clinic, operated by another former member of their network, someone who asked no questions and kept no records. The doctor set her arm, wrapped her ribs, administered antibiotics and pain medication. 3 weeks recovery minimum, the doctor said. 6 weeks optimal. That arm needs to heal properly. Understood. Sarah would be operational in 2 weeks. She'd learned to function through worse. In the safe house, she and Liam decrypted Ashford's phone, found contact lists, operational details, information on 3 other organizations they hadn't identified yet. Vienna, Perth, and Mexico City. 3 more targets, Liam said. 4 months preparation minimum. I need healing time. We need to recruit replacements for Eagle and Vex. Recruiting is risky. More people means more compromise potential. Operating undermanned is riskier. Ashford nearly killed us because we were understaffed. Liam considered. I know someone. Former CIA, burned by the agency, has grudge against wealthy elite. Solid operator. Vet them thoroughly. Obviously. They worked through the night, analyzing Ashford's intelligence, building new operations, calculating risks. By dawn, they had preliminary plans for Vienna. Smallest operation, 12 members. Good entry point for new recruit. Sarah's arm throbbed despite medication. Her ribs ached with every breath. Pain was information, reminder of vulnerability, evidence that she wasn't invincible. Good, useful. Complacency had almost killed them. Pain kept you sharp. 2.5 years after Vermilion, Washington Post. Ghost massacres resume after 3-month pause. Following a 3-month period of inactivity that led some to speculate the vigilantes known as the Ghosts had been caught or killed, a new massacre has occurred in Vienna, Austria. 14 bodies were discovered in a private social club in the city's first district. All victims showed signs of asphyxiation before the building was destroyed by fire. As with previous ghost incidents, extensive files documenting the victims' crimes have appeared online. The Vienna organization, calling themselves the Preservation Society, had apparently been operating for 9 years. Files show evidence of at least 40 murders committed for entertainment purposes. The ghosts are still active, confirms Interpol Director James Chen. And they've refined their methods. We found even less evidence at this scene than previous ones. They're learning, adapting, becoming more efficient. The 3-month pause has raised new questions. Were the ghosts injured, regrouping, or were they simply planning this operation more carefully? Whatever the reason, they're back, Chen says. And based on the intelligence we're gathering, there are still multiple organizations operating worldwide. The ghosts show no signs of stopping until they've eliminated all of them. Civil liberties advocates continue to express concern about the lack of due process. Criminal justice reform advocates point to the ghosts as evidence of systemic failure, arguing that if the legal system had properly addressed these crimes, vigilante action wouldn't be necessary. We're watching the evolution of a new form of justice, says legal scholar Maria Santos. The ghosts represent frustration with a system that allows the wealthy to escape consequences. They're proof that when conventional justice fails, people will create alternatives, whether we like those alternatives or not. 3 years after Vermilion, Sarah sat in a Mexico City cafe, watching the target through binoculars. 3 years of operations. 12 organizations eliminated. Approximately 220 people dead by her direct or indirect action. Hundreds more arrested based on leaked evidence. She felt nothing about the body count. Just data. Just numbers representing problems solved. The target today was small. Final surveillance before tomorrow's operation. 9 members meeting in a private residence. Weak security. Almost insultingly easy after Vienna and Perth. Her arm had healed properly. The ribs had mended. She was operating at full capacity again. The new recruit, User Crow, former CIA operative with personal vendetta against the wealthy, had proven competent. Their Vienna operation had been flawless. Perth had been messier. 1 member escaped initially, required 2 weeks of hunting before elimination. But ultimately successful. All targets eliminated, all evidence documented and released. She checked her watch. The meeting would begin in 7 hours. They had positions arranged, equipment staged. Extraction routes planned. Everything was optimal. Her encrypted phone buzzed. Message from user Falcon. Need to talk. Secure line. Urgent. Sarah found a secure location. Activated encrypted voice. What's wrong? Henny's voice was strained. I'm compromised. Someone recognized me. A survivor from one of the games, years ago. She saw me in Sao Paulo, thought I looked familiar. Spent 2 years investigating. Just contacted me. Knows who I am. Sarah calculated implications. Is she threat? No, she wants to help. She lost her sister to one of these organizations. She has intelligence. Locations, members, operational details. More than we've found independently. Could be trap. I vetted her. 3 weeks of investigation. She's legitimate. What does she want? To join. She wants to be part of this. Sarah considered. More people meant more risk of compromise. But more intelligence meant more targets. More efficiency, larger impact. What are her qualifications? Former federal prosecutor. Extensive legal knowledge, investigation experience, access to sealed records through old contacts. No combat training, but that's not what we need her for. We need her for intelligence and planning. Liability in field operations. Agreed. She'd be support only. Intelligence analysis, operational planning, evidence documentation. Never in combat zones. Sarah ran probability calculations. The benefits of expanded intelligence outweighed the increased compromise risk if the woman was properly compartmentalized. Never given access to full operational details. Trial period. 3 months, intelligence only, no operational knowledge beyond need to know. If she performs adequately and maintains security, full integration. First mistake, immediate elimination. Harsh. Efficient. We can't risk compromise. Agreed, I'll bring her in. User designation. She chose Sparrow, like the bird theme we have going. Sarah ended the call, added user Sparrow to her mental database. Another asset, another tool, another component in the machine they'd built to hunt predators. 3 years ago, she'd been Betsy Carter, a guilt-ridden engineer drowning in debt. Now she was Sarah Mitchell, professional killer, hunter of the wealthy, ghost in the machine of global justice. She'd eliminated every emotion except professional satisfaction, had rebuilt herself into something maximally efficient, had become the weapon these organizations had tried to make her when they killed Marcus Lynn and manipulated her guilt. Ironic, they'd created their own destroyer. 4 years after Vermilion. The intelligence user Sparrow provided was extraordinary. Within 6 months of joining, she'd identified 17 previously unknown organizations, mapped their financial networks, and provided operational details that would have taken years to gather independently. Sarah reviewed Sparrow's latest report in her Amsterdam apartment. The woman, real name Jennifer Moss, though Sarah still thought of her only as Sparrow, had cracked open an entire network they'd missed. 12 interconnected organizations operating across Southeast Asia, sharing resources, rotating members, with combined body count exceeding 300 deaths. This changes scope, Sarah said into the encrypted conference call. They'd started doing weekly planning sessions, more efficient than scattered communication. Agreed, Liam's voice. We've been hunting individually, but this is a network. We eliminate one, the others scatter. Henny asked. Simultaneous operations, Sarah said. Hit all 12 within a 72-hour window. Don't give them time to react or escape. We're 6 people, Liam countered. Can't hit 12 targets simultaneously. We recruit more. Silence on the line. They'd been cautious about expansion, knowing each new member increased compromise risk. How many more? Henny finally asked. Sarah had already calculated. 12 additional operators. 2 per target. We provide planning, intelligence, oversight. They execute under our direction. That's 18 people total, Crow said. He'd been quiet until now, listening. That's not a small operation anymore. That's an organization. Yes, we become what we're hunting. No, Sarah corrected. We become an organization dedicated to eliminating predatory organizations. Different purpose, different ethics, different outcome. Slippery slope, Crow argued. How long before we're just another secret society doing whatever we want? We don't enjoy what we do, Henny said. That's the difference. They killed for entertainment. We kill for elimination. You sure about that? Crow's voice was sharp. You sure we're not enjoying this? The power? The righteousness? The kill? Sarah considered his question clinically. Did she enjoy it? No, she'd eliminated that capacity. But the others? Liam moved through combat with something that might be satisfaction. Henny's voice had an edge when discussing eliminations. Wolf had openly said he found it interesting. Fair question, Sarah admitted, but irrelevant to current tactical discussion. We have targets. We have opportunity. We need resources. Question is, expand or let them escape? We expand, Henny said, but carefully. We choose operators with same profile, burned by the system, personal grievance against the wealthy elite, no attachments, willing to die for the cause. I know 4 people, Liam said, former military, all dishonorably discharged for refusing to protect war criminals. All have nothing left to lose. I know 3, Crow added, former intelligence, all burned by agencies protecting wealthy informants. I can find 5 more, Sparrow's voice joined. Families of victims, people who lost everything to these organizations. They'd volunteer. Sarah calculated. 16 potential recruits. They'd need 12. That allowed for 4 failures during vetting. Acceptable margin. Proceed with recruitment, Sarah said. But enhanced security protocols. Compartmentalized information. No one knows full operational scope except us 6. Each recruit gets only their specific target details. What if they refuse after learning what we're asking? Crow asked. Then they die, Sarah said simply. Can't risk them reporting us. Everyone recruited must understand. This is one-way door. You join, you're in until you die or we're done. No exits. That's necessary, Henny interrupted. Crow, you're still thinking like there's a normal world to go back to. There isn't. Not for us. We're ghosts. We exist only to complete the mission. Anyone who joins needs to accept that. Silence. Then Crow, agreed. I'll brief my recruits accordingly. They spent 4 more hours planning. Target assignments, timelines, logistics, extraction protocols. By the end, they had a framework for what they were calling Operation Hydra, simultaneous elimination of 12 interconnected organizations. Timeline, 8 months of preparation, then 72 hours of execution. Risk assessment, high, at least 30% casualty rate among operators. But potential elimination of the entire Southeast Asian network, approximately 150 targets. Sarah ran the numbers repeatedly. The math supported the operation. The casualties would be acceptable losses if the outcome was achieved. She wondered briefly if that made her a monster. Decided it didn't matter. Monsters served a purpose too. 4 years, 8 months after Vermilion. Sarah was in Bangkok, surveying the target building. This was the largest of the 12 operations, the network's hub, 23 members expected. She and Liam had taken this one, knowing it required maximum experience. 2 new recruits supported them. User Viper, former Navy SEAL who lost his sister to one of these organizations, and User Talon, former Secret Service agent who'd been fired for attempting to investigate a protected individual. Both had been thoroughly vetted. Both understood the terms. Both were weapons pointed at the target. Sarah's earpiece crackled. All teams report status. One by one, responses came in. 12 teams, 12 cities across Southeast Asia, all positioned, all ready. Team 1, ready. Team 2, ready. Team 3, ready. Down the list, all confirmed. Execute in sequence, Sarah commanded. Team 1 initiates at mark. Each subsequent team begins 60 seconds after previous. Maintain radio silence except emergency. Go at mark. She checked the synchronized timer. Mark. In Jakarta, Team 1, User Rook and User Magpie, breached their target, a private club in the financial district, 9 members present. Entry was clean, security disabled, doors opened, flashbangs deployed. Gunfire, rapid, controlled, 9 dead in under a minute. 60 seconds later, Team 2 in Manila. Similar execution, 8 targets eliminated. 60 seconds later, Team 3 in Ho Chi Minh City, 12 targets eliminated. The sequence continued, like dominoes falling across Southeast Asia. 12 simultaneous operations executing within 12 minutes of each other. Bangkok was last, Sarah's operation. Magpie and Liam entered from opposite sides while Viper and Talon covered exits. The building was a renovated warehouse, converted to luxury private space. The organization, calling themselves the Jade Circle, was celebrating their 30th anniversary. Champagne flowing, self-congratulation abundant. 23 predators in formal wear, toasting their survival, believing themselves untouchable. Sarah disabled the security system from her tablet. Liam cut the power. Emergency lighting kicked in, dim, creating shadows. They moved through darkness like they'd done this 100 times before. Because they had. The Jade Circle realized too late something was wrong. Tried to flee, but Viper and Talon blocked exits. Tried to fight, but these were soft people, wealthy people who paid others to commit violence. Sarah killed 11 people in 3 minutes. Clinical shots, no wasted ammunition. Liam killed 10. Viper got 2 who tried to rush past him. Talon eliminated the last one trying to climb out a window. 23 bodies. Total time from breach to last kill, 4 minutes, 32 seconds. Team 12, complete, Sarah reported. All targets eliminated. Other teams reported in sequence. All successful. All targets down. Total casualties, 147 dead. On their side, 3 wounded, 0 dead. Better than projected. Excellent execution. Phase 2, Sarah commanded. Evidence collection and fire protocols. 30-minute timer starts now. Each team had memorized the procedure. Photograph everything. Download all digital files. Collect physical evidence. Then set incendiaries with 30-minute delay. Long enough to escape, short enough to prevent intervention. Sarah's team worked efficiently. Viper found their server room, began downloading files. Talon photographed bodies, documented the scene. Liam placed thermite charges at structural points. Sarah supervised, ensuring nothing was missed. At 28 minutes, they evacuated. Drove 3 blocks to secondary position. Watched the building. At 30 minutes precisely, the charges ignited. White-hot fire ballooned through windows. The structure began to collapse. All teams report, Sarah said. One by one, fires confirmed, evidence secured, extraction proceeding. Except Team 6. Silence. Team 6, report. Nothing. Team 6, emergency protocol, report. Still nothing. They're dark, Liam said. Either captured or compromised. Sarah calculated. Team 6 had been in Kuala Lumpur, targeting 13 members. Their operators were User Hawk and User Kite, both experienced, both reliable. All teams proceed with extraction, Sarah ordered. Team 12 will investigate Team 6 status. Report to Rally Point Alpha in 72 hours. They drove to Kuala Lumpur, 4 hours through the night, arrived at the target building to find it still standing. No signs of fire or assault. Bad. Liam went in first while Sarah provided overwatch. He returned grim. Both dead. Hawk and Kite. Looks like they walked into an ambush. The target knew they were coming. The members? Gone. Building is empty except our people. Compromise. Someone had warned the Kuala Lumpur organization, which meant someone inside their operation had betrayed them. Sarah's mind worked through possibilities. 18 people total. 6 original members. 12 recruits. The leak had to be a recruit. None of the original 6 had access to Team 6's specific target information, except Sarah herself. All teams, emergency protocol Omega, Sarah broadcast. Proceed to Rally Point Alpha immediately. No exceptions. Any deviation will be treated as hostile. Rally Point Alpha was a secure location in rural Cambodia, an abandoned monastery they'd prepared as emergency fallback. Isolated, defensible, with weapons and supplies cached. Over the next 72 hours, the teams arrived in sequence. Sarah watched each approach, weapons ready, trusting no one. Team 1 arrived first, Rook and Magpie. Sarah separated them, interrogated each individually. Their stories matched, their operational details were accurate, their evidence collection was complete, cleared. Team 2, Corvid and Jay, same process, cleared. Team 3 through 5, all cleared. Team 7 through 12, all cleared. That left the 6 original members and 1 other recruit pair, User Wren and User Finch, part of Team 4. They'd been recruited by Sparrow, their operation had been successful, but something about their demeanor was wrong, too relaxed. Not the stress Sarah would expect after nearly being compromised. She isolated them separately. Tell me about your operation, Sarah said to Wren. He described it. 8 targets, clean entry, successful elimination, evidence collected, fire set, extraction smooth. And you had no communication with Team 6? None. Didn't even know what city they were in. But you knew there was a Team 6? Slight hesitation. Yes. We were briefed there were 12 teams total. Wrong. Operational security had dictated teams only knew their own operations, and that multiple simultaneous operations were occurring. They shouldn't have known the specific number. Who told you there were 12 teams? Sparrow, during our briefing. Sarah left Wren, went to Finch, asked the same questions. Got the same answers. Then she found Sparrow. Walk me through Wren and Finch's recruitment and briefing. Sparrow, Jennifer Moss, looked confused. Standard protocol. I vetted them for 3 months, confirmed their backgrounds, briefed them on their specific target only. Did you tell them how many total teams? No, that would violate compartmentalization protocol. They know there were 12 teams. Sparrow's face went pale. That's impossible. I never... She stopped. Unless they had another source. Sarah already knew. They're double agents. Someone planted them to infiltrate us. But their operation was successful. They killed their targets. Their targets were probably expendable, or already evacuated. The real goal was intelligence. Learn our methods, identify our members, compromise our network. What do? Sarah's mind had already calculated the next steps. Enhanced interrogation. Find out who sent them, what they've reported, what they know. And then we eliminate them and everyone they've contacted. The interrogation took 6 hours. Leon handled physical aspects, while Sarah managed psychological pressure. Wren broke first, admitted he'd been recruited by someone claiming to be a ghost operative, had been told he was infiltrating to ensure the operation wasn't compromised. Lies within lies. Classic intelligence manipulation. Finch confirmed. They'd been reporting to someone called the Architect, never met face-to-face, only encrypted communications. They'd provided operational details, member descriptions, methods, everything. How much did you report? Sarah asked. Everything we learned, Wren admitted. Team structures, tactics, weapon preferences, rally points, everything. This location? Yes. Sarah felt something cold settle in her chest. Not fear, she'd eliminated that, but assessment of severe tactical disadvantage. How long ago? 36 hours. They had maybe 12 hours before whatever force the Architect controlled arrived. Maybe less. Sarah called emergency assembly. All surviving operators gathered. 16 people total, minus Wren and Finch, who were restrained. We're compromised, Sarah said without preamble. Team 6 was a trap. Wren and Finch were plants. They've reported our location. Hostile forces are likely en route. How hostile? Crow asked. Unknown. Could be law enforcement. Could be remaining organization members. Could be something worse. We should scatter, Magpie said. Disappear individually. They have descriptions, methods, probably tracking on some of us. Scattering means isolated hunting. We're stronger together. So we fight? Liam asked. Sarah calculated. 16 operators against unknown enemy force, in defensible position with prepared supplies. We fight, and we win. Because if we don't, everything we've accomplished ends. They had 6 hours before dawn. Sarah organized defensive preparation. Perimeter sensors, weapon distribution, ammunition stockpiling, fallback positions, escape routes. They turned the abandoned monastery into a fortress. At 6:47, the sensors triggered. Multiple vehicles approaching. Approximately 40 personnel. Sarah watched through binoculars. Not law enforcement. No uniforms, no official vehicles. Private military contractors, heavily armed, moving with tactical precision. The Architect sent mercenaries, she reported. Professional soldiers. This isn't capture mission. This is elimination. How many? Liam asked. 40, possibly more in reserve. We're outnumbered nearly 3 to 1. Yes, but they're attacking a fortified position. Advantage shifts. She assigned positions. Liam and Viper on north approach, Crow and Talon on south, others distributed to cover all angles. Sarah took command position with overview of entire battlefield. The mercenaries approached cautiously, clearly briefed about the Ghost's capabilities. They moved in coordinated teams, using cover effectively, advancing systematically. Sarah let them get close, waited until they were committed to the approach. Then, fire. The monastery erupted. 16 weapons firing from concealed positions, catching the mercenaries in crossfire. The first wave went down hard, 12 dead in the opening salvo. But these weren't amateurs. They rallied, established cover, began suppressive fire while calling for reinforcements. More vehicles arrived, 20 additional mercenaries. The odds worsened. Wolf, demolitions, Sarah commanded. Wolf, who'd been quiet throughout, watching, activated charges they'd placed along the approach roads. Explosions cratered the paths, destroyed 2 vehicles, killed 6 more mercenaries. The assault stalled. The mercenaries pulled back, regrouped. Sarah used the pause to assess. Ammunition status, 60% remaining. Casualties, 2 operators wounded, 1 seriously. Enemy casualties, approximately 18 dead, unknown wounded. They'll call for more support, Liam said through comms. This isn't sustainable. Agreed. Recommendations? Counterattack. Hit them while they're regrouping. Take out their command structure. Risky, but staying defensive meant slow attrition. Offensive might break their cohesion. Approved. Team, Liam, Viper, Talon, Wolf. Objective, eliminate enemy command. Everyone else, maintain defensive fire. The 4 operators slipped out through escape tunnels Sarah had prepared, emerged behind enemy lines. Sarah watched through drone feed she'd launched, small quadcopter providing overhead view. The mercenaries had established command post 200 meters back. 5 individuals, radios, laptops, coordinating the assault. Liam's team approached silently. At 50 meters, they opened fire. Command post dissolved into chaos. Leaders dropped. Radios went silent. Organization collapsed. The remaining mercenaries, suddenly leaderless, began retreating. Some fled in vehicles, others scattered on foot. The assault was broken. Cease fire, Sarah commanded. Let them run. Consolidate position. They'd won. Cost, 2 operators dead. Magpie had taken fatal shot during the assault. Corvid had died covering the counterattack. 12 wounded to varying degrees, but 40-plus mercenaries dead or scattered. Decisive victory, but temporary. They'll send more, Henny said. Whoever the architect is, they'll keep coming. Then we hunt the architect, Sarah said. Find them before they find us again. She turned to Renning Finch, still restrained. You're going to tell me everything about your contact. Communication methods, payment structure, any identifying details. Everything. And then you'll kill us, Ren said. Yes. Then why would we talk? Because if you talk, I'll make it quick. If you don't, I'll make it last days. They talked. 5 years after Vermilion. The architect was harder to find than any previous target. 3 months of investigation, following digital breadcrumbs through cryptocurrency transactions and encrypted communications. Sarah traced the money through 17 shell corporations, 14 countries, 53 accounts. Finally found a pattern. The architect used a specific encryption algorithm, old, obscure, suggesting someone trained in intelligence work during the Cold War. That narrowed the pool. Cross-referenced with people who had resources to hire 40 mercenaries, had motivation to protect mother entertainment organizations, had intelligence background. Got 3 possibilities. Investigated all 3. Found her answer. Alexander Kozlov, former KGB, moved into private intelligence after Soviet collapse, built network of information brokers and mercenaries for hire. Now 73, wealthy beyond measure, living in a fortress outside Moscow. This is different, Henny said when Sarah presented the findings. He's not part of the organizations. He's protecting them. Why? Crow asked. Money, Sarah said simply. The organizations pay him for protection, information, security services. He's the infrastructure that lets them operate. So he's a target? He's the target. Eliminate him, the organizations lose their protection. They become vulnerable again. He's in Russia, Liam pointed out. Former KGB, current oligarch. Probably has FSB protection. We're good, but we're not invading Russia good. Sarah had already calculated that. We don't invade. We extract. We bring him to us. She outlined the plan. Exploit Kozlov's one weakness, his grandson, studying at Cambridge. Not kidnapping. They weren't that kind of organization, but manipulation. Create a situation where Kozlov has to leave his fortress, meet them on neutral ground. It took 2 months to arrange. Fabricated evidence that his grandson was in danger from rival oligarch. Created elaborate false flag operation, suggesting assassination attempt. Made Kozlov believe only personal intervention could save his family. He took the bait, left Moscow, traveled to Berlin for emergency meeting with supposed allies who could protect his grandson. The meeting location was their trap. Abandoned factory in industrial district, isolated, offensible. Kozlov arrived with 12 bodyguards. Good, but not enough. Sarah's team was 16 operators, positioned throughout the building. When Kozlov entered, they had him surrounded. The bodyguards realized too late. Firefight was brief, brutal. 12 guards down in under a minute. Kozlov untouched, standing in the center of the kill zone. Sarah approached, weapon ready. Alexander Kozlov, you've been protecting the organizations we're eliminating. Kozlov smiled. He was old, gray, but his eyes were sharp, calculating. The ghosts. I wondered when you'd find me. You sent mercenaries to kill us. I sent them to test you. To see if you were worthy of a different offer. We don't negotiate. Everyone negotiates. You want to eliminate the murder entertainment organizations. I can give you all of them. Every location, every member, Every financial detail, all of it. Sarah felt nothing, no temptation, just assessment of tactical advantage versus risk of compromise. In exchange for what? My life, and my grandson's safety. I'm old, I'm tired. I built this network for money. But money means nothing when you're dying. Cancer, 6 months, maybe less. I want to die knowing my grandson is safe. You guarantee that, I give you everything. You're a mass murderer. You've facilitated thousands of deaths. And you've killed hundreds. We're both monsters. The difference is you believe you're righteous. I never had that delusion. Sarah considered. The information he offered would accelerate their mission by years. Would allow them to eliminate every remaining organization simultaneously. Would end this. But trusting him was risk. He could be lying, playing for time, already having warned the organizations. She calculated probabilities, weighed options, made decision. Show me proof. Real-time access to the network. If it's genuine, we deal. If it's trap, you die slowly. Kozlov pulled out a laptop. I came prepared. He opened files. Database of organizations worldwide, 43 total. Far more than they'd identified. Member lists, financial structures, meeting schedules, security details, everything. Sarah verified spot checks against their known intelligence. Everything matched. This was real. 43 organizations, she said, approximately 1,700 members total. Operational for an average of 12 years. Estimated death toll, 4,000 people. Closer to 5,000, Kozlov corrected. Some kept poor records. Sarah felt something that might have been rage, if she still had that capacity. 5,000 people murdered for entertainment. 1,700 predators living freely, protected by wealth and connection. We'll need 6 months to plan, she said. Simultaneous global operation. Every organization, every member, all at once. I'll help you plan, Kozlov offered. I know their security better than anyone. Why would you help destroy what you built? Kozlov's smile faded. Because I had a daughter once. She disappeared 20 years ago. I never found her. Then 6 months ago, I discovered she'd been in one of these games. One of the early ones, before I was involved. They tortured her for 3 days. 50 people watched. No one helped. She died screaming. Silence. So yes, Kozlov continued, I'll help you destroy them. Every single one. And then you'll kill me. Because I deserve it. But first, promise me my grandson lives. He's innocent. He doesn't even know what I've done. Sarah looked at Liam, at Henny. They nodded. Your grandson lives, Sarah said. We'll arrange protection. New identity if necessary. He'll never know why. He'll just be safe. Thank you. And you'll help us plan the operation. Then you'll die. I understand. When? After every organization is eliminated. After every predator is dead. Then at the end. You'll die knowing you helped destroy what you created. Kozlov nodded. Poetic. I appreciate that. 6 months later. The planning was immense. 43 simultaneous operations across 6 continents. They needed more people. Many more. Kozlov helped with recruitment. Not directly, but through his network. He identified candidates, former special forces, intelligence operatives, people with grudges against the wealthy elite, people who'd been burned, betrayed, left for dead by the system. By the time they were ready, they had 215 operators, divided into 43 teams, each team with specific target, specific plan, specific timeline. Sarah coordinated from command center in Berlin. Banks of monitors showing all 43 locations, encrypted comms with every team leader. Kozlov beside her, providing real-time intelligence. This is insane, Henny said, watching the preparations. We're launching the largest coordinated vigilante operation in history. If this fails, if even one team is captured and talks, it won't fail, Sarah said. We've planned for every contingency. Kozlov's intelligence is perfect. The timing is synchronized. It will work. You sound certain. I calculated the probabilities. 87% success rate for total operation. Acceptable losses projected at 30%. Outcome, complete elimination of global murder entertainment network. And the 13% failure chance? Then we die and someone else continues. But the information is distributed. If we fail, everything goes public. The organizations are exposed regardless. H-hour approached. Sarah watched the countdown. 5 minutes. 4. 3. All across the world, 215 operators moved into position. In Manhattan and Mumbai, in London and Lagos, in Sydney and Santiago, simultaneous convergence on 43 targets. 2 minutes. Sarah opened the general channel. All teams, Final status check. 43 confirmations. Everyone was ready. 1 minute. This is it, Sarah said. Operation Terminus. The end of the murder entertainment era. For every person who died in their games. For every family destroyed. For everyone who couldn't fight back. This is for them. 30 seconds. All teams stand by. 10 seconds. Execute, execute, execute. Across the globe, the assault began. 215 operators moving against 1,700 targets. The largest coordinated strike against wealth and privilege ever attempted. Sarah watched the feeds. Manhattan team breaching. London team engaging. Tokyo team eliminating targets. Santiago team encountering resistance, but overwhelming it. One by one, reports came in. Team Alpha, targets eliminated. Team Bravo, 12 dead, evidence secured. Team Charlie, encountering heavy resistance. Gunfire. Resistance eliminated. Down the list, successes mounting. Some teams took casualties. Some encountered unexpected security. But they kept moving, kept fighting, kept killing. 1,700 predators who'd thought themselves safe, who'd believed their wealth protected them, who'd murdered for entertainment and never expected consequences. They were wrong. Operation lasted 6 hours. At the end, 41 of 43 teams reported success. 2 teams had been completely eliminated. Team Omega in Hong Kong and Team Zeta in Paris had walked into prepared ambushes. But even those targets had been destroyed. The teams had died fighting, taking their targets with them. Total casualties: 67 operators dead, 119 wounded. Enemy casualties: 1,693 dead. 10 members escaped, captured on various security footage fleeing their locations. But Kozlov had their identities, their resources, their contacts. They would be hunted down within weeks. Sarah felt nothing. Just completion. Just the end of a 5-year mission. Upload everything, she commanded. Every piece of evidence, every document, every video file, released simultaneously to every major news organization, law enforcement agency, and internet platform. Gigabytes of proof documenting 5,000 murders, 1,700 murderers, 43 organizations. The world would burn with outrage. Kozlov sat in his chair, watching the feeds. "It's done," he said quietly. "Everything I built, everything I protected, gone." "Yes, and now? Now you die. Here? Here." Kozlov stood, faced her. "Make it quick." Sarah raised her weapon. "You helped us. You gave us everything. Quick is what you've earned." She fired once. Kozlov dropped, dead instantly. Sarah walked out of the command center. Behind her, the monitors still showed the aftermath. Fires burning across the globe. Survivors scattering. The end of an era. Liam waited outside. What now? Now we disappear. Permanently. Operation Terminus is complete. And network is destroyed. We're done. Just like that? Just like that. We upload final evidence packages, distribute the money we seized from their accounts to victims' families, and vanish. Become the ghosts we're named for. And if more organizations emerge, they will. Evil doesn't end. But we've proven it's not untouchable. Someone else will continue. Someone always does. 7 days later, CNN's special report. The anchor looked exhausted, like he'd been broadcasting non-stop for a week. Because he had. In what authorities are calling the most significant vigilante action in human history, 43 secret organizations dedicated to murder for entertainment have been completely eliminated. Over 1,700 individuals are confirmed dead. Hundreds more are under arrest, based on evidence released by the so-called ghosts. The scope is staggering. These organizations operated across 6 continents, in 29 countries. They had been killing people for entertainment for over 30 years. Conservative estimates suggest at least 5,000 victims. But perhaps more shocking than the crimes themselves is the response to their elimination. Global polling shows 79% approval for the ghosts' actions. Street celebrations have been reported in 17 major cities. Victims' families are calling it justice. Yet legal scholars warn of dangerous precedent. This was mass murder on an unprecedented scale, says Professor David Martinez of Harvard Law. Yes, the victims were themselves murderers, but we're a civilization of laws. Vigilante justice, no matter how satisfying emotionally, undermines the entire foundation of legal society. Law enforcement agencies across the globe are investigating, but so far have identified exactly 0 suspects. The ghosts, as always, left no trace. 200 people participated in the attacks, and all of them simply vanished. The question now is, are the ghosts finished? Or will they turn their attention to other forms of injustice? We may never know, because as of this broadcast, 7 days after Operation Terminus, the ghosts have gone completely silent. 2 years after Operation Terminus, Sarah Mitchell, who'd been Betsy Carter, who'd been a dozen other names, sat in a cafe in Reykjavik, reading the news on a tablet. A world had changed in the 2 years since Operation Terminus. 73 senators and representatives had resigned or been arrested on related charges. 41 judges had been impeached. Hundreds of executives had been fired. Companies had collapsed. Fortunes had been destroyed. The evidence released had exposed not just the murder entertainment organizations, but their entire ecosystem of enablers, financiers, and protectors. The dominoes had kept falling for months. Some called it the greatest blow against corrupt wealth in modern history. Others called it chaos, the breakdown of social order, proof that vigilantism led only to destruction. Sarah felt nothing about the debate. She'd done the math. 5,000 victims avenged. 1,700 predators eliminated. The network destroyed. Efficient, effective, complete. She disappeared after Operation Terminus. New identity, new life, new face. She'd had surgical alterations, subtle but effective. She wasn't Sarah Mitchell anymore. Wasn't Betsy Carter. Was just another person in another city, invisible. She'd kept one USB drive, the last copy of all the evidence, encrypted and hidden. Insurance, or perhaps memoir, proof that she'd existed, that she'd done something, that 5 years of her life had mattered. Her phone buzzed. Not the burner phones she used to use, just a normal phone with a normal number. Text from unknown sender. The work isn't done. There are still targets. We could use someone with your skills. Sarah stared at the message. Someone had found her. Probably Liam or Henny. They'd maintained some form of contact, watching each other from distance. They wanted her back, wanted to continue. She calculated. The murder entertainment networks were destroyed. But evil took many forms. There were human traffickers, arms dealers, warlords, corrupt officials. Endless targets. Endless problems to solve. She could spend the rest of her life hunting them. Could become permanently what she'd been temporarily, a weapon pointed at the predators of the world. Or she could stop, could try to become human again, could attempt to rebuild the emotions she'd systematically dismantled. Could try to be Betsy Carter again, or Sarah Mitchell, or whoever she was supposed to be. She typed back, "The work is never done, but my part is finished. Find someone else." Deleted the message, dropped the phone in a trash can, walked away. She'd killed approximately 240 people directly over 5 years, had orchestrated the deaths of nearly 2,000 more, had spent 5 years becoming something other than human, something efficient and cold and necessary. She was done, but even as she walked through Reykjavik's streets, part of her mind was cataloging potential threats, mapping escape routes, identifying vulnerable targets. You couldn't just stop being a weapon. Not after 5 years. The training was permanent. The mindset was permanent. The calculations were permanent. She'd never be Betsy Carter again. That woman had died in the Vermilion estate 5 years ago. The night she'd learned she was a weapon created by the people she'd eventually destroy. She was something else now. Something without a name. Something that had served its purpose and now existed in the gray space between human and ghost. She found an apartment, paid 6 months' rent in advance. Began building another new identity, another new life, another layer of protection between who she'd been and who she was becoming. Every day, she told herself she was done. Every night, she dreamed of targets. Every morning, she woke knowing that somewhere in the world, predators were hunting, and she had the skills to stop them. But she stayed in Reykjavik, stayed hidden, stayed out of the fight, because maybe, eventually, the ghosts could rest. Maybe eventually the war could end. Maybe. 3 years after Operation Terminus, the package arrived with no return address. Plain brown paper, postmarked from Frankfurt. Sarah, now calling herself Anna Christian's daughter, working as a freelance database administrator, stared at it for 10 minutes before opening it. Inside, a USB drive and a handwritten note. "You said you were done. I believed you. But you need to see this. Not asking you to act. Just asking you to know." Liam. Had to be. His handwriting, though she'd only seen it once, 5 years ago, planning the Vermilion infiltration. She should destroy the drive unread, should burn the note, should maintain the firewall between who she'd been and who she was trying to become. Instead, she plugged the drive into an isolated laptop. No internet connection, no network access. Wiped clean after every use. The files opened. Her stomach, which she thought had been permanently desensitized, clenched. Children. The files documented a network trafficking children, not for labor, not for adoption, for something worse. Custom orders, specific requests, wealthy buyers purchasing children for purposes the documentation barely hinted at, but made horrifyingly clear. Locations across 12 countries, approximately 300 clients. Unknown number of victims. The documentation was deliberately vague, but conservative estimates suggested thousands over 15 years. Sarah read through the intelligence reports. Liam's work, clearly, he had sources she'd never questioned, and felt something she thought she'd eliminated. Not rage, not anger. Something colder. Something absolute. The math was simple. This network was worse than the murder entertainment organizations. Those had killed thousands. This network was destroying lives without ending them, creating victims who'd carry their trauma forever. Problem, solution, calculation. She typed an encrypted message to the email address listed in the note. How certain is this intelligence? Response came in 20 minutes. Verified through 3 independent sources. We have locations, names, operational details. Already planning. Thought you should know. Not asking you to participate. Just thought you should know it exists. Liam was lying. He was absolutely asking her to participate. But he was being careful, not pushing, letting her make the choice. She could ignore it, could delete the files and return to her quiet life in Reykjavik, could let someone else handle it. Could be done, like she told herself she was. How many operators do you have? 16. Need 25 minimum for the operation we're planning. We'll proceed with 16 if necessary. Casualties will be higher. 16 operators against a network of 300 clients, plus security infrastructure, plus the actual trafficking apparatus. The math was brutal. Half of them would die, probably more. Timeline, 4 months of preparation, then execution. With or without you. Sarah stared at the screen. Calculated probabilities. With her expertise in security systems, the success rate would increase by approximately 30%. Casualties would decrease by approximately 20%. Her presence was tactically significant. But she was done. She'd said she was done. She'd meant it. The children are being hurt every day you wait, Liam sent. Every day we prepare is another day they suffer. But it's also another day we reduce our casualties. There's no good answer. Classic Liam. Manipulation through logic. He knew how her mind worked. Knew she'd calculate the costs and benefits. Knew she'd reach the conclusion that her participation maximized positive outcomes. She hated that he was right. Send me the full intelligence package. I'll review. No commitment. Understood. Sending now. The files arrived. Sarah spent 6 days analyzing them. Barely slept. Barely ate. Just analyzed. The network was sophisticated. They learned from the murder entertainment organization's failures. Decentralized operations. No permanent locations. Heavy encryption. Counter-surveillance, compartmentalized information. Every client knew only their own contacts, never the full network. But they had weaknesses. Every system did. They relied on a central payment processor, a cryptocurrency clearinghouse that handled all financial transactions. Take that down, and the network fractured financially. They also had a coordination hub, a secure messaging platform that connected buyers, sellers, and logistics. Compromise that, and their communications failed. 2 critical points of failure. Sarah could exploit both. She drafted a plan, 47 pages of detailed analysis, security vulnerabilities, infiltration approaches, exploitation tactics, timeline, resources required, probability calculations. Then she stared at the document for 2 hours. This was the decision point. Send this plan, and she was back in the fight, back to being a weapon instead of a person. Don't send it, and children continued suffering while a 16-person team tried to stop it with inadequate resources and high casualties. Not a decision, just math. She sent the document. Response came immediately. This is brilliant. With these approaches, success rate jumps to 83%. Will you help implement? Sarah's fingers hovered over the keyboard. This was the real decision point. Planning was remote, abstract. Implementation meant returning to the field, meant killing again, meant becoming the ghost again. I'll handle the digital warfare, remotely. I'm not going operational again. Understood. That's enough. Your digital expertise is what we need most. Thank you. Don't thank me until it's done. 4 months later, Sarah sat in her Reykjavik apartment, surrounded by monitors. 5 laptops, 3 tablets, 2 desktop systems. All isolated from each other, all running different operations simultaneously. She was the digital warfare hub for Operation Safeguard. Liam's name wore it. Sentimental, but fitting. 22 operators total now. Liam had recruited 6 more with her plan's credibility behind the operation. Her role: compromise the payment processor, infiltrate the messaging platform, disable security systems at 12 simultaneous target locations, jam communications during assault, wipe evidence afterward. She'd spent 4 months preparing. Built custom malware, mapped network architectures, identified vulnerabilities, created backdoors, established remote access to systems that were supposed to be air-gapped. H-hour, 0300 GMT. 12 targets across 8 countries. 22 operators divided into teams. Sarah's fingers moved across keyboards. First action: deploy ransomware against the cryptocurrency clearinghouse. Not real ransomware. She didn't want money. Just encryption that locked every transaction, froze every account, made the payment infrastructure useless. The clearinghouse went dark at 0301 GMT. Second action: infiltrate the messaging platform. Difficult. Military-grade encryption, distributed servers, no central point of failure. But every system had flaws. This one's flaw was human administrators who reused passwords. She cracked 3 admin accounts, gained root access, deployed monitoring code. Now she could see every message, every transaction, every communication. And she could inject false messages, create confusion, disable accounts. The network's communication infrastructure was hers at 0307 GMT. Third action: security systems. 12 locations, 12 different architectures. She'd been mapping them for months. Now she executed. Cameras looped, alarms disabled, electronic locks opened, panic buttons neutralized. All 12 locations compromised by 0315 GMT. Digital warfare complete, she reported over encrypted voice. All targets are soft. Teams are cleared to engage. Acknowledged, Liam's voice. All teams execute. Sarah watched through the monitors. She had access to security feeds at all 12 locations. The operators didn't know she could see them, but she'd kept that capability for oversight. Team 1, Dubai, apartment complex where 3 buyers lived. Entry clean, targets eliminated in bedrooms while sleeping. No casualties. Team 2, Los Angeles, storage facility being used as temporary holding location. 6 children recovered, 4 traffickers eliminated. 1 operator wounded, non-critical. Team 3, Manila, meeting location where transaction was occurring. Buyers and sellers both present. Intense firefight. The sellers had military-grade weapons, had trained for the scenario. But the operators were better. Everyone dead, children secured. Down the list, successes and complications. Team 7 in Moscow encountered unexpected resistance, FSB protection. Apparently 1 buyer was connected. Heavy casualties. 3 operators dead, but target eliminated and 5 children recovered. Sarah watched it all clinically, tracked each operation's progress, adjusted digital warfare in real time. When Team 4's target tried to call for help, Sarah intercepted and redirected the call. When Team 9's assault triggered an alarm system she'd missed, Sarah disabled it remotely. 6 hours later, it was done. All 12 primary targets hit. All buyers present at locations were eliminated. 47 dead. Additionally, the compromised payment system and messaging platform had created chaos. The network couldn't coordinate, couldn't transfer money, couldn't warn each other. They were fracturing in real time. Casualties: 7 operators dead, 11 wounded. But 63 children recovered, 63 lives saved. And Sarah had comprehensive access to the network's complete infrastructure. She began extracting everything: client lists, transaction records, communication logs. All the evidence needed to destroy not just the targets they'd hit, but the entire network. Evidence extraction complete, she reported. Uploading to secure servers now. Preparing dead man switches for public release. Casualties? Liam's voice was tight. He'd lost people. It hurt him in ways Sarah couldn't remember feeling. 7 KIA. I'm sorry. Silence. Then, they knew the risks. Did we save them? The children? 63 confirmed recovered. More will be freed as we expose the network. Then it was worth it. Sarah wasn't sure about that. 7 operators dead. 7 people who'd had lives, families, reasons to exist beyond this operation. Was 63 lives saved worth 7 lives lost? The math wasn't that simple. But she didn't say that. Just beginning phase 2. full network exposure. She'd set up automated systems. In 36 hours, unless she personally intervened, every piece of evidence would be released to every major platform, news organization, and law enforcement agency simultaneously. Global exposure. Complete destruction of the network. But she also had a choice. She could release it now, immediately, or she could use the leverage. We have complete network data, she said over the encrypted channel. 317 clients. I can release everything now, or we can extract more information first. Use the access to identify other networks, other operations. What do you want to do? Liam didn't answer immediately. Sarah waited. What do you think? He finally asked. This is your area of expertise. Tactically, we should mine the data. Every client will have communications, connections, patterns. We can identify other criminal networks. Could take 6 months of analysis, but we'd have targeting information for years of operations. And during those 6 months, some clients would continue operating. Some children would continue suffering. But we'd gather intelligence to prevent more suffering long term. That's cold. That's math. Math that treats children as acceptable casualties. Sarah felt something. Not quite guilt, but recognition that her calculation was morally complicated. You asked my tactical assessment. Tactically, delayed release is optimal. Morally, immediate release is correct. You decide. Another pause. Immediate release. We're not intelligence analysts. We're not long-term strategists. We're just people trying to stop immediate harm. Release it all. Now. Confirmed. Sarah pressed the button. Everything uploaded simultaneously. Gigabytes of evidence. Names, transactions, communications, video evidence. The entire network exposed in one massive document dump. She watched as news organizations began reporting it. Social media exploded. Law enforcement agencies scrambled. The network burned in real time. 317 wealthy predators who'd thought themselves untouchable were now hunted globally. Some would escape. Some would have resources to flee and hide. But most would fall. Most would face consequences. It's done, Sarah said. Network is exposed. They're finished. Thank you, Liam said. I know you didn't want to come back, but you saved lives today. Probably saved more than we can count. Sarah ended the connection. Began wiping her systems. 7 passes minimum. Military-grade data destruction. Every laptop, every tablet, every desktop. Destroyed the hard drives physically afterward, just to be certain. Then, she sat in her dark apartment, surrounded by destroyed electronics, and wondered who she was. She'd said she was done. She'd meant it. But when presented with a problem she could solve, she'd solved it. Because that was what she did. What she was built for. What remained after she'd stripped away everything else. Not a weapon. Weapons didn't choose their targets. She chose. Selected problems worth solving. Calculated costs and benefits. Made decisions that people with intact emotions couldn't make, because emotions clouded judgment. Maybe that made her a monster. Maybe that made her necessary. Maybe both were true. She didn't know. Didn't care. The operation was complete. 63 children were free. 7 operators were dead. 317 predators were exposed. The math was acceptable. 1 year after Operation Safeguard. The message came through a dead drop, a physical note left in a specific book in a specific Reykjavik bookstore, a system Liam had established for emergency contact. They found me. Henny and Crow are dead. Maybe others. Someone is hunting us. Someone who knows what we did. Someone with resources. I'm going dark. Suggesting you do the same. Be safe. L. Sarah read the note 3 times. Felt nothing. Analyzed the information. Someone was hunting the ghosts. Presumably survivors or connected individuals from one of the organizations they'd destroyed. Or perhaps someone new. Someone who'd studied their operations and developed counter-tactics. Henny Chen was dead. The woman who'd infiltrated the Vermilion Society, who'd lost herself in deep cover for 2 years, who'd killed dozens personally and orchestrated hundreds more deaths, dead. Crow was dead, former CIA, bitter and angry but effective, dead. How many others? Sarah began research, carefully, remotely, through multiple proxies. Found news articles. Former defense contractor found dead in Munich. That was probably Eagle's replacement. Suspected vigilante killed in firefight with police in Bangkok. That might be Talon or Viper. Someone was systematically eliminating them. Someone patient, organized, well-funded. Sarah assessed her own security. She'd been careful. Multiple identities, no pattern of movement, No social connections, minimal digital footprint. But she'd also participated in 13 major operations over 6 years, had killed hundreds of people, had made enemies. Eventually, someone would find her. Statistics guaranteed it. She could run, could create new identity, move to new location, bury herself deeper, could spend the rest of her life running from shadows. Or she could solve the problem, identify who was hunting them, eliminate the threat. But she was done. She'd said that, meant that. She wasn't going back. Except people were dying. People she'd worked with. Not friends, she didn't have those, but colleagues. Assets. Components of operations that had achieved important outcomes. The math was simple. If someone was hunting the ghosts, they'd eventually find her. Better to engage proactively than wait for the threat to arrive. She began investigating, tracked the deaths methodically, found patterns. All kills were professional. All operators were eliminated when isolated. No collateral casualties. Whoever was doing this was precise, targeted, skilled. She cross-referenced with people who'd survived their operations. Found 12 individuals across their 13 operations who'd escaped initial elimination. 7 had since died. Natural causes, accidents, suicides. All suspicious in retrospect. 5 remained. She investigated each one thoroughly. Found her answer in the 4th. Marcus Ashford's brother, Richard Ashford. She'd killed Marcus 3 years ago in Bucharest. Richard was former MI6, had extensive intelligence connections, had resources and motivation. He was hunting everyone involved in his brother's death, had spent 3 years identifying operators, tracking them, eliminating them methodically. Sarah accessed his communications. His security was excellent, but she'd compromised British intelligence infrastructure during Operation Terminus and maintained backdoor access. Saw his kill list. 23 names. 16 already dead, 7 remaining. She was number 7. Richard Ashford was currently in Stockholm. Hunting operator number 6, probably Viper, who'd relocated there after Operation Safeguard. Sarah could warn Viper, could try to save him, could alert the other survivors, or she could solve the problem permanently. She chose efficiency. Stockholm, 3 days later. Richard Ashford was staying at the Grand Hotel, room 412, under the name James Bradley. Sarah had complete access to his communications, his travel patterns, his methods. She could kill him remotely, plant bomb, poison his food, cause accident. Remote was safer, but remote left uncertainty. Remote meant she couldn't verify the kill personally. Remote meant possible survival. She went in person. Entered the hotel through service entrance. Her security access codes still worked on most major chain systems. Took service elevator to 4th floor. Approach room 412. Lock was electronic. She overrode it. Opened the door. Richard Ashford sat in a chair facing the door, pistol aimed directly at her head. "I wondered when you'd come," he said. "The others, I had to hunt. But you'd come to me. Because you're not like them. You don't run. You eliminate threats." Sarah stood perfectly still, calculated distances, angles, probabilities. He had clear shot, steady hands, professional posture. Probability of survival, if she moved, less than 5%. "You killed my brother," Richard continued. "Marcus was a bastard. I know that. He did terrible things. But he was my brother. Family matters. He was trying to kill us. He'd compromised our operation. Elimination was necessary. I'm sure it was. Just as eliminating you is necessary for me. Nothing personal. If this is personal revenge, then it's definitionally personal." Richard smiled slightly. "Fair point. But I mean, I don't hate you specifically. You're just a problem to solve. Just like Marcus was a problem you solved. Then we understand each other." "We do. Which is why I'm going to make you an offer instead of just shooting you." Sarah waited. "I've studied your operations," Richard said. 13 major actions over 6 years. You've eliminated approximately 2,000 predators. Saved countless lives. You're effective, efficient, skilled. I respect that. And I don't want to kill you, want to recruit you. For what? There are always threats, always problems, always people who need to be eliminated that the system can't touch. You've proven you can do it better than anyone. Work with me. We'll identify targets, plan operations, execute cleanly. We'll continue what you started." Sarah analyzed the offer. Richard Ashford wanted to institutionalize what they'd done. Create a permanent organization dedicated to vigilante justice. transform their temporary operations into something ongoing. No, she said. Why not? Because we became what we fought. An organization of killers operating outside the law. Adding permanence and structure would complete the transformation. We'd be no different from the organizations we eliminated, except we'd target the right people. Everyone believes they target the right people. That's the problem. Richard's expression hardened. Then you die. I gave you the option. You gave me time to calculate. Distance to your weapon, 3 meters. Your reaction time, approximately 0.25 seconds based on age and posture. Probability I can reach you before you fire, 42%. Probability I survive if you fire, 8%. Combined survival probability, approximately 50%. So you're gambling on coin flip? No, I'm telling you that I calculated 50% survival, which means I have advantage you don't understand. Richard's eyes narrowed. What advantage? The door behind you. He didn't turn. Trained operatives never fell for that. But his eyes flicked to the mirror on the wall, checking the reflection. That fraction of second distraction was enough. Sarah moved. Not toward Richard, toward the window. Crashed through it, shoulder first, falling 4 stories toward the canal below. Impact with water was brutal. Ribs cracked, different ones than before. Left shoulder dislocated, but alive. She surfaced, swam underwater for 30 meters before coming up for air. Richard would be at the window, might take shot, but swimming target in darkness was low probability. She reached the far side of the canal, climbed out, moved fast despite injuries. Richard would be coming, had backup probably. She needed to disappear. Reached safe house, one of 17 she'd established across Europe. Changed clothes, grabbed emergency kit, moved to second safe house. Then third. Only when she was in Helsinki 12 hours later did she allow herself to assess. Richard Ashford was still hunting her. Still hunting the others. She'd failed to eliminate him. She'd made the problem worse by showing him she was active, engaged, a direct threat. But she'd also learned his patterns, his methods, his security vulnerabilities. She could hunt him now. Systematically, carefully. Or she could run. Could go truly dark. Could abandon Anna Christiansdotter and create new identity so deep no one would find it. Running meant others died. Richard would complete his kill list. 7 operators dead already. 7 more would follow. But engaging meant becoming the weapon again. Meant returning to what she'd said she'd left behind. She made the calculation. 7 lives versus her retirement. The math was clear. She sent encrypted message to Liam. Richard Ashford, brother of Marcus, he's hunting us. He found me in Stockholm. I'm hunting him now. Warn the others. Then she began planning. Richard was skilled, but he'd made a mistake. He told her he'd studied their operations. That meant he'd focused on their tactical methods, their operational patterns. But Sarah wasn't tactical. She was technical. She existed in networks and systems and digital spaces where physical skills meant nothing. She began her hunt remotely, accessed British intelligence databases, found Richard's complete file, mapped his contacts, his resources, his hiding places, identified his support network, 3 former MI6 operatives helping him, systematically dismantled his infrastructure, drained his accounts, millions in cryptocurrency, all redistributed to victims' families, disabled his communications, every phone, every email, every secure channel, deleted his digital identity, credit cards canceled, passports flagged, every official record corrupted. Within 1 week, Richard Ashford existed only physically, had no money, no communications, no support, no identity. Then she sent him a message through physical dead drop, same system he'd been using to coordinate his kills. You wanted to recruit me. I declined. You tried to kill me. I survived. Now I've eliminated your resources, your support, your identity. You can't run. You can't hide. You can't buy help. You have one option. Meet me. Alone. We end this. Included coordinates. Abandoned warehouse outside Brussels. Neutral ground. She waited 3 days. Monitored the location remotely. On the 3rd day, Richard Ashford appeared. Alone, as demanded. Carrying a weapon. Expected. She entered from a different angle. Came up behind him. Put gun to the base of his skull before he could react. Drop the weapon. He dropped it. You're better than I thought, Richard said. I underestimated the technical approach. Most people do. Physical force is dramatic. Digital warfare is boring, but boring wins. So now what? You shoot me? That depends. Do you stop hunting us? I can't. Marcus was my brother. Family matters. Family is evolutionary programming designed to ensure genetic propagation. It's not a logical basis for murder. Maybe not. but it's a human basis, which is something you wouldn't understand. Correct. I don't understand. But I recognize the pattern. You won't stop, which means I have to kill you. No other solution. Then do it. Sarah calculated one more time. Richard Ashford was threat. Would continue to be threat. Elimination was logically necessary. But killing him would confirm everything he'd said about her, that she was just a weapon, just a killer, no different from the predators she'd eliminated. She made a decision. I could kill you, but I won't. I'm going to do something worse. I'm going to give you a choice. She pulled out a USB drive. This contains evidence that Marcus wasn't just part of the London organization. He was founding member. He'd been participating for 12 years before we eliminated them. He personally killed 43 people, tortured them, watched them die, enjoyed it. Richard's face paled. You're lying. I don't lie. Lying is inefficient. Everything on this drive is verified. Video, financial records, communications. Your brother was a monster. We eliminated him because he deserved elimination. She placed the drive on the floor. You have a choice. Look at the evidence. See what your brother really was. Accept that we did the world a favor by killing him, and stop hunting us. Or don't look. Continue believing Marcus was just a victim. Continue hunting us. Eventually, one of us kills you. Maybe me, maybe someone else. But you die believing you are righteous. Why would you give me this choice? Because I'm tired of killing. Because I want to stop. Because maybe if you understand what your brother really was, you'll stop too. And we can both stop. We can both be done. She stepped back. I'm leaving this warehouse, taking my weapon. If you pick up yours and shoot me, you might hit. Probability is approximately 30%, given distance and lighting. Your choice. Sarah walked away. Didn't run, didn't look back. Just walked. No gunshot came. She left Belgium that night. Monitored intelligence networks for weeks afterward. Richard Ashford disappeared from all databases, went completely dark. Either he'd looked at the evidence and been broken by it, or he was planning deeper revenge. She'd never know which. But the killing stopped. No more operators died. The hunt ended. Maybe Richard had looked at the evidence and realized his brother was a monster. Maybe he'd simply lost the resources to continue. Maybe he'd decided the cost wasn't worth it. Sarah didn't care about his reasons, just the outcome. The threat was neutralized. She could stop again. This time for real. 8 years after Vermilion, present day. The woman who'd been Betsy Carter, who'd been Sarah Mitchell, who'd been Anna Christiansdottir, who was now Elena Voss, sat in her Oslo apartment watching the news. A breaking story. Mysterious deaths at an exclusive resort in the Maldives. 17 bodies discovered, all apparently suffocated. Evidence emerging online showing the deceased were part of a network engaging in extreme exploitation. The ghosts had returned. Or maybe they'd never left. Maybe new people had picked up where the originals left off. Maybe the idea was bigger than any individual. Elena, she thought of herself by that name now, felt nothing watching the report. No pride, no satisfaction, no connection. She'd been out for 5 years, had built a real life, quiet, boring, stable. She worked as a database consultant, had 2 friends, actual friends, people she had coffee with, who knew nothing about her past. She had a routine, she had normalcy. The ghosts were someone else's problem now. Her phone rang. Not encrypted, not a burner. Just a normal phone with a normal number. She answered. Miss Voss, this is Detective Hansen, Oslo Police. We need to speak with you about some irregularities in your background check. Elena's mind went cold and sharp, calculated instantly. Someone had found a flaw in her identity. Someone had tracked her. The police were the first contact, but others would follow. I'm happy to help, Detective. When would you like to meet? Today, if possible. Our office is at 14 hours. I'll be there. She ended the call. Looked around her apartment, the life she'd built, the normal existence she tried to create. It was over. She had maybe 6 hours before the police interview. After that, everything would unravel. Questions would lead to more questions. Her identity would collapse. Eventually, someone would connect Elena Voss to Anna Christiansdottir, to Sarah Mitchell, to Betsy Carter. She had 3 options. Run. Create new identity, disappear again, start over somewhere else, keep running forever. Surrender, face whatever consequences came, except that eventually ghosts got caught. Or eliminate the threat, find out who'd flagged her identity, silence them, rebuild the walls around her existence. Option 1 was exhausting. Option 2 was unacceptable. Option 3 meant becoming the weapon again. Elena sat very still. Thought about the last 8 years. Thought about the 5,000 people who died in the murder entertainment games. Thought about the 2,000 predators she'd helped eliminate. Thought about the 63 children saved in Operation Safeguard. Thought about who she'd been, who she'd become, who she was trying to be. Made her decision. She packed a bag. Not much, just essentials. Left the apartment, left the keys on the table, left Elena Voss behind. Became someone else. Again. Always. Because ghosts didn't get caught. Ghosts just disappeared. And somewhere in the world there were always predators who needed haunting. 10 years after Vermilion, the documentary played to a packed auditorium. The Ghost Massacres, a retrospective, had been in production for 2 years, assembled from declassified files, survivor interviews, and exhaustive investigation. The narrator's voice was somber. Despite a decade of investigation by law enforcement agencies across 30 countries, not a single ghost operative has ever been identified. We know they existed. We have evidence of their operations, their tactics, their impact. But we don't know who they were. We don't know where they are. We don't know if they're still active. The screen showed statistics: 13 major operations, 43 organizations eliminated, approximately 2,000 targets killed, 200 plus operators involved, 0 arrests. The ghosts changed the world, the narrator continued. In the decades since their first operation, laws have changed. The ultra-wealthy face increased scrutiny. Secret societies have been exposed and disbanded. Some call it the greatest blow against corrupt power in modern history. But questions remain. Were they heroes or murderers? Were they just or simply violent? And most critically, where are they now? The documentary ended with an image, a surveillance camera photograph from the Vermilion estate, showing a blurred figure in the moments before the fire. It was one of the few images authorities had ever recovered. The figure could be anyone. Man or woman, young or old, impossible to tell from the grainy footage. If you're out there, the narrator addressed the figure directly. We want you to know we're still looking. We'll never stop looking. Because the world deserves to know who you were, what you were, why you did what you did. The ghosts may believe they've disappeared, but history doesn't forget. Truth always emerges. Eventually. The screen faded to black. In a small coastal town in New Zealand, a woman in her early 40s sat in a cafe, watching the documentary on her tablet. She'd changed her face with surgery, changed her fingerprints with acid treatments, changed her identity so thoroughly that even advanced biometrics couldn't connect her to any previous existence. She'd been out for 7 years, had married, divorced, married again, had started a business teaching cybersecurity to local companies, had built a real life, with real connections, with real permanence. She watched the documentary to the end, then closed the tablet, returned to her coffee, thought about nothing in particular. Because she wasn't Betsy Carter anymore, wasn't Sarah Mitchell, or Anna Christianstorter, or Elena Voss, or any of the dozen other names she'd used. She was just another person in another town, living another life. Ordinary, forgettable, invisible. A ghost in truth now, not just name. And if somewhere in the world, predators still hunted, still killed, still believed themselves untouchable, that was someone else's problem. She was done, finally, permanently. The mathematics of her existence had reduced to a simple equation. One life, lived quietly, hurting no one, helping no one, simply existing. It was enough. It had to be enough. Because the alternative, becoming the weapon again, returning to the hunt, solving problems that would never stop coming, that path led nowhere except death. So she finished her coffee, paid the bill, walked out into New Zealand's sunshine, went home to a husband who knew nothing about her past and a life that held no ghosts except the ones inside her head. And those, at least, were finally quiet.